blah 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 blah. Hello everybody and welcome to I'll Tell You What TV for a Monaco Formula 1 podcast where we're going to review the Monaco Grand Prix. Apologies for coming on a little bit later than scheduled. I've had a few problems with the internet and James has decided to try and burn his arse with a curry. So we'll see how he gets on with his wind throughout the evening. As I said, we are going to be talking about Monaco. We're going to be talking about the Grand Prix from this weekend. There'll be a few other items throughout the show as well. Just a quick warning though, good chance that there will be bad language throughout this show. Because there's no way that James is not going to...
No, there fucking won't be.
Like I say, there's no way that James will not swear. I think someone's just cracked a bit of wood. Yeah, James will not be able to not swear if we talk about Solo at any point. Just want to quickly mention...
Bag of shite.
Just want to quickly mention it. Just want to apologise for James having a shit live on air. I was joking when I messaged him that on Facebook, to which he replied, I'll be two mums, or just two mums. Obviously we know what James wants for the weekend. Yeah, apologies also last week for the audio problems we had. It was basically just a settings problem when I plugged my microphone in. The software I used to broadcast the show hadn't actually picked up my headset. So basically, for Steve and James's audio, so basically the only way people could hear James was by him speaking, it being heard through my headphones and my own microphone picking it up. So that's what the problem was last week. Anyway, talking about having problems, just before we do get on to talking about the Monaco Grand Prix, James is having a few problems. James, do you know who else has been having a few problems this week?
Max Verstappen?
No, actually not Formula 1 related.
Oh, a few problems.
Yeah.
Oh, this weekend?
Well, for about a week now, yeah.
Han Solo?
No.
Oh.
Our commentary partner, Steve, who, as you know, and I know, and the viewers
yeah,
might
sorry,
know.
I forgot to ask you. I forgot to ask Steve. I saw a picture of him and I thought, oh, he hasn't fallen downstairs again, has he?
Well, did you see this picture of him? This is a picture that was sent to me by Steve's wife Claire of when he was getting ready for his operation.
Oh no! Oh, you know what? I'm in trouble here.
Go on.
I've got no toilet roll.
Are you serious?
Oh no! What am I gonna do? Oh shit!
Literally.
Oh, what am I gonna do? What have I got?
Have you got
a carrier bag.
Sock.
Is Vicky not back yet?
No, oh shit!
You'll have to waddle to the kitchen and get some kitchen
All I
roll.
can see that would be kind of useful is Vicky's got some of them, you know, like they look like little cotton wool, but like little pads.
Oh, for removing
For taking makeup off.
I'm still gonna get my fingers messy out. Oh, what am I gonna? Oh, right. I'll think of something.
Well, while you think of something, James still hasn't seen this picture that Steve's wife sent to me. Picture of Steve showing off his hospital gown. So you've had an operation then, Steve?
Yeah, I have. Only a little one. Go on.
I was going to say, what would that have been on?
My right arm, my ulnar nerve, but most people will know it as the funny bone. The nerve that's there was trapped, and they had to move it from one side of my elbow to the other.
Too much wanking.
Well, that's what I'd agreed with you, but last year I had my left one done, and I don't wank with my left one. So I've had them both done now.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe it's just because it's so long. You've got to get to.
No. You never know. Well, what I will say is, Steve's posing on this picture is not the greatest. He actually looks a little bit like Davide Valsecchi, to be honest. However, it's the next picture that got sent to me that I find most horrifying. Because, James, you might remember that on last week's podcast, Steve did mention something about the clothes they made him wear in hospital. James is thinking
about the paper pants.
I can't remember. Let's have a look.
That is not a pretty sight. That is not a pretty sight.
Hey, what's the point in having see-through undies, Steve?
I have no idea.
Are they made of plastic? What are they made of? Looks like
The
a carry
paper.
bag.
They're made of paper.
Paper underwear. What's the point?
Did you rip them when
I have
you
no
farted?
idea. I daren't, right? And I was so paranoid about having a shit and leaving a skid mark in them. Yeah.
You look like you've got some sort of hole. You look like James Bond from back, like with that little holster thing he's got.
Gun
for his
holster,
gun with black strap. Yeah.
Thing is, though, with those paper pants, it's one size is supposed to fit all, right? And also they're unisex, so the front it pulls everything in so fucking tight. It's actually quite painful. And I kid you not, you would not want to have seen the picture of the front.
What? There's a picture of the front?
No, I'm pretty sure that did not get taken.
All right. Shall we have a look,
well-
James? Oh no, I haven't.
I bet it looked like a Cumberland sausage.
It was like a dead
Ones that are,
budgie.
like round. You know, the ones that are like round in a circle, just to
Yeah.
package it all in.
Yeah.
It was a dead budgie I was trying to smuggle.
Oh dear. Oh
Talking of, I might have mentioned it before. I run my own racing league.
Do you?
Yeah, and if anybody's checked the first race out,
Links in the description.
Yeah, but we'll just so that people are enticed to go watch it. Have either of you watched it?
I did.
I have. Yeah.
I wouldn't bother,
And-
folks.
What would you say? What would you say about it? Would you
You know what?
encourage people?
Right, what I'll say is there is a link to James's Racing League's YouTube channel in the description, and I would recommend that people go and have a listen, because I mean, for anyone that watches it, if they don't realise that it's a piss take straight away, then they may have issues with it. But the fact that there's Alan Partridge's picture is on it with a different name kind of hints that it's a take the piss. What I will say is,
what got me though is it was like, all he's got to do is turn left.
yeah, it's like, what do you think's going through his mind as he's approaching this left-hand corner? All he's got to do is turn left. And I will admit, your mate Paul did a very, very good job with the commentary. I think the best bit for me was actually, oh yeah, this bit, the drivers get really confused because the track goes left, then right, then left, then right. It's really difficult.
You can just boggle the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the second round, which happened last night, which I will be probably editing at some point tonight as we're talking, it took place. We're on the DLC for Project Cars 1. You might know of it. It was called Bannockbrae or something like that. That's like a road course in Scotland.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right.
round a big lake,
Yeah, right.
and there's a real evil bit through the village.
It is very, very evil, right? Well, we were thinking of having a guest commentator turn up, and this is really one for Steve. Really, I don't know if you'll be able to get this picture up. I'll send you a picture of the guest commentator. Guess if you can just go with a guess for his name, because you came up with Justin Leathers. So what do you think this guy's called?
Oh God. No,
Miyagi.
it's going to be Jackie Wong.
We called him Jappy Stewart.
Oh dear. Oh,
but
dear.
he's gonna. It's basically gonna be. He ain't gonna be Japanese in any way other than his picture. It's just gonna be me doing my Jackie Stewart impression, talking about driving with finesse around the Bannock race.
You know, the only bit you should do is every now and again try and get sushi into the commentary.
I'll try.
But
there's a great sushi bar down at turn 2. It's a great spot over the lake. You can't beat it. And I tell you, if you drive with finesse down the turn 2, you can definitely, get a good special offer. You can get there before 8 p.m.
You know how you were saying on last week's video that if you get onto the gravel, it'll suck you off. This one, instead, you could say something like, "Oh, you have to be really tricky around these corners, otherwise it will saki you all over the place."
Yes, right, I'm writing that down. And any other quotes you want to try and get me to do, they're probably going to end up in the video.
Well, Freddie,
I'll tell you what, here's a challenge for you. I bet you can't get the word Weetabix into just a general sentence.
Oh, I bet I will be able to.
He's crumbled like Weetabix on approach to
His
that
car's
corner.
broken like a Weetabix. Yeah, okay. I'll definitely get that.
I like that idea. So James's task for his Racing League commentary then is to get Weetabix into his commentary.
Because I was just thinking though, like I said to my mate Paul at work, the thing is, though, if we keep going with this, serious, take it so serious that it's it's real. So every single racing league out there is doing that exact thing. So there's no different angle. Whereas I said, if we just look at it as the actual racing league side of it, like, for example, if somebody drives into somebody and runs them off the road, then they get a penalty. That side of it we'll take seriously, but the commentary side of it, we can just do a full-on piss take.
Yeah.
As we did with Justin Leathers with his lovely
you're gonna have
reports.
You're gonna have to get the Hando boys in there at some point.
Oh, I will do.
That is
definitely.
True. That is true.
Definitely.
So for anyone that's interested, go and check out James's Racing League. Like I say, there is a link in the description. And the race from first race from this season, it was very funny to watch. I mean, some of the commentary is absolutely brilliant, and Paul is brilliant with his South African. That is for sure. Okay, let's get on to Monaco. All right, Monaco Grand Prix has just taken place this weekend. We're going to get on to the predictions straight away, I reckon. We might as well. Mainly because it went quite well for me this week. So I'm going to.
I've got to be fair. I've got to be honest. I completely forgot what we'd said. So I probably got everything wrong this week.
You did.
It will surprise me as well.
Well, I can tell you, both Steve and James got absolutely 0 fucking points. None whatsoever.
I've always got the only thing that I cringe at the Monaco Grand Prix is when it shows that princess. She just looks like she wants to not. She just looks like she wants to fucking run away. Oh, she just looks so awkward. She's just like, oh, what the fuck? I just want to go sunbathing.
maybe.
Yeah, but tell you what though, Prince Albert's done well there.
Yeah, well he has. Yeah.
So's Prince Harry. Well, let's face it, Meghan Markle. I would.
Better than Angela Merkel.
Definitely.
Better, just slightly less as good as Camilla.
Oh,
yeah. I'm just seeing. I've seen a mistake on here.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I got my podium right. You just got it. You've wrote it down in the wrong order.
No. Your podium is very wrong. Very, very wrong.
Steve, I know you. You like to manipulate things.
Well, let's see. On Steve's podium, he put Vettel first, Hamilton second, Ricciardo third. Did any of them finish in those positions? No.
I thought it was.
No.
I thought it was just who will be on the podium. And it's those three.
No,
What
you
order?
did not. No, you did not. Because if I remember rightly, you even said, although I've picked Hamilton as the winner, I'm going to choose Vettel for finishing first, Hamilton second, and Ricciardo third. So you can't try that one, you sneaky bastard. Now, what I will say is, right, obviously Steve and James have got fuck all points. Now, neither of us have been helped by the fact that there wasn't a single safety car throughout the Grand Prix, which I was very surprised about, to be honest. I think it's the first...
I was looking at the race, it got to lap 58, I went, somebody bid it, somebody bid it, somebody bid it. It went lap 59, I'm like, fuck.
Well, I mean, I was surprised that everybody got round turn one without major incident, because usually there's at least somebody hitting a barrier somewhere, and there wasn't really a lot happen. It surprised me a lot, and the fact that there wasn't a safety car throughout the whole race, well, I mean, it's phenomenal. I think it was 80% chance of safety car at
Something like that.
Monaco. Yeah.
Nobody crashed apart from Charles Leclerc, and that was a brake failure.
Well, I don't know. Did Stroll crash himself a few times? I know he got a puncture at least twice.
I wouldn't say that's a crash. He didn't put himself out at race.
No. Well, that's the other thing. When it came to first to crash out, like when we get halfway through the race, and I'm thinking, okay, no one's out of the fucking race yet. I was actually thinking that everyone's going to finish, and it wasn't until Alonso's engine went or gearbox went. I was like, oh, okay. But it was Leclerc who crashed out first, and neither of us picked him. The finishers, neither of us got that right. There were 17 drivers finished, so Steve was close.
I'm pretty sure we said on that it was whoever was closest.
No, that was for the safety car.
Was it?
Yeah, it was, because I made a note.
We can't have one rule for one, one rule for another.
Yes, we can. But now we go on to the most contentious part, right? Okay, because you two ain't scored nothing, right? Unlucky guys. You're both on 5 points. I got the pole sitter right with Ricciardo, and I got the podium right with Ricciardo, Vettel, Hamilton. So that's 4 points to me, puts me on 7.
No, it's 1 point for getting the podium right.
No. It's got to be a point for each one, surely.
What do you reckon, James?
Have we lost him? James?
He's wiping his bum with his bare hand.
Sorry, I'm just... Krakatoa's going off. I'm trying to concentrate on that. I'm listening, but... Oh, God.
Krakatoa's going off?
His rear end.
Oh, right. Oh, dear.
You're a big volcano.
Have you got loo roll? Are you still in the bathroom? We've been on air for 23 minutes.
I haven't finished yet. I like to take time. I still haven't thought about how I'm going to wipe my ass yet.
Do you know there's one way to do it? If you're in the
I'll cross that bridge when... Go on.
Well, if your toilet is in the same room as your bath and your shower, you use the shower.
Yeah, I think the Japanese people do that. I might take a tip from Jappy Stewart.
Clean his arse in his shower. Yeah, so come on then, James. You're going to have a deciding vote on this. Is it 1 point?
Sorry, can you repeat it? Repeat the question.
Right, podium, 3 drivers,
yeah.
3 correct drivers, 1 point or 3.
I'd say give him 2. Because he got them all right, but just not in the right order. Whereas he gets 3.
I got them in the right order. I got them in the right order. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, so you get 3 points.
Yeah, there we go. 2-1, Steve. See you later. Fuck off.
So do I get 1 point then for just getting the right drivers but the wrong order?
No. Yeah, no. Steve, if he got the right drivers but the wrong order, I think that should be technically 2 out of 3 because that's quite good. Whereas if you get them in the right order, it's 3 out of 3.
You do realise, James, that by suggesting that it puts me and Steve on 7 and you on 5?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Because I'll come back and beat you next week.
No, you won't.
No, you won't.
I'm like Max Verstappen. I just never learn from my mistakes. And then just...
Well,
did you hear that somebody said to him that he's basically? Is it a possibility that he moves back to Toro Rosso? Because I said, well, to be fair, somebody said Danny Kvyat would probably do something similar and get moved back. Why is it different for Max? But the only difference for Max is before this season started, he was seen as like the chosen one.
Yeah, and he has won a couple of races.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah. Well, we can talk about that a little more in a moment. So just to round out the predictions then, that puts me on 7 points, James on 5 points, and maybe Steve on 7 points, if I remember to update it for the next one. Okay, I'm surprised. I think that's the first time this season that anyone has got all 3 podium sitters in the right order, so I was very pleased with that one. Okay then. Did
you hear that, Steve? We were just rubbing some salt in.
I know.
I don't know what you mean. There's no salt in his sling that's holding his cut arm up. Okay, on to Monaco. I made quite a lot of notes, even though not a lot happened. But what I will say is, I'll start off with first note I made. I mean, I only made my notes from race day, but the first one I made was sexy grid girls.
Yeah, they were all right. They could have been a bit more monstery.
Well, you were looking at the men, not the women.
Well, I've actually got a note that was actually written down before the grid girls, and that is what Martin Brundle said in qualifying when Vettel's about to start his hot lap.
Yeah.
And the camera pans to the pit lane. Martin Brundle says, what are we looking at this for?
Yeah, and it is Max Verstappen sat on his ass watching the TV screen.
Yeah. Well,
exactly. Why are we watching that?
Interestingly, the last note, I mean, I've just mentioned the first note I made. The last note I made was I thought it was a great race, but poor coverage. And by poor coverage, I don't mean commentary or anything like that. I mean the camera work was absolutely shocking. The amount of overtakes that actually happened in that race.
They missed, yeah.
Yeah,
everyone were a replay.
Every single fucking one. I mean, when you've got your commentators sat there going, oh, Hamilton's close to Ocon, he's going to be overtaking him, he has overtaken him, and you're thinking, well, come on then, show it then.
Show us it, yeah.
And okay, Ocon let him through, but it doesn't matter. Or Verstappen, right? I'm not being daft. Us three sat here would have known, right, at this race, there's probably one person that you're going to want to look at as much as you can, and that's going to be Max Verstappen, because he's either going to bin it or he's going to be overtaking people. So what happens? Lap 1, overtakes 3 cars, don't see any of them.
As well, the first move with Carlos Sainz was a replay, where he went up the inside and Carlos Sainz. I've got to be fair, I've watched that footage back, and I kind of sided with Carlos Sainz because at no point when Max Verstappen went for that first move up the inside into the chicane, at no point was Max Verstappen in front, so at no point should Max Verstappen have been able to then squeeze somebody out, because technically he wasn't in front.
It was a bit of a late move as well.
For Carlos Sainz, if he'd have turned in, there'd have been a crash.
Yeah.
His point of view is, if I'd have turned in for that corner and left a car's width, he would not have left me a car's width, and we'd have crashed and we'd have both been out. That's the way, and that's why I see it as, well, it's pretty fair enough that he just cut the corner and kept going, because Max Verstappen was not leaving any space for him, even though he wasn't in front.
The thing is, he didn't just keep going either. He did keep going, but before to back, he slowed down to make sure that Verstappen was right behind him again. Now, that's about as fair as you're going to get it. I mean, I do agree with you. Verstappen's move was not enough done to warrant Sainz having to move out of the way. But flipping that around, I don't think Verstappen's eventual overtake was done on the racetrack and should have stood.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I think I got a couple of screenshots here just to get me point. But yeah, the one where he actually made the overtake, I'll send you the 2 shots now. That's not on the racetrack. The yellow curb is the edge of the racetrack, and he goes over that. So I don't understand how that is technically. Oh well, it's a done deal because he made the effort. Well, no, he didn't keep it on the track. Because I'm pretty sure we removed that. The remove that Grosjean made at Hungary in 2013, round the outside of somebody, went literally about a couple of millimetres off the circuit, and then he was told to give the place back.
Now, the interesting thing is about the pictures that you're showing is it's from on board of Max Verstappen. I'm not going to try and transfer them over because I've been having problems with the internet. Whenever I come off the streamer that I'm using. So it's the apex curb of the Harbour chicane. Now, the yellow curb that's actually there, it's on the inside or the outside of the curb, the red and white curb. The yellow curb.
Go get me a toilet roll.
That's why James has been sat in the bathroom
for half an hour.
For half an hour, he's been waiting for Vicky to come home.
You could be tired, like when you get in the shower and you don't even get a towel before you get in.
Please. Sorry.
She's not going to be wanting a shower now, is she?
Oh well.
You can just imagine that if she'd have come in and you should have seen James wiping his arse with a makeup removing pads.
Oh God. Right, okay, so back to the point I was trying to make. The yellow curb on the picture isn't actually part of the track because the curb's not part of the track. So being all 4 wheels on the curb is off the track, but Verstappen is beyond the yellow part of the curb. So he's more than off the track. I know that Brundle said at the point, like looking at the replay, he says he made a fair enough attempt to try and stay on the racetrack to warrant keeping the position. I disagree.
He didn't stay on the track.
Making an effort and actually doing it is 2 different things.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, as I said, getting behind him, let's give us some more action until he gets it right.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, so but yeah, as far as the coverage goes, the coverage was shit, like really shit. I mean,
I think as well. I think it was the last 10 laps or something. There was I can't remember what. I think it was Gasly, Hülkenberg, and Verstappen.
Yeah.
And I was looking at them delta times, and it wasn't showing them on screen. When I was looking at them delta times, there were moments where it said Max Verstappen were 2/10 behind Hülkenberg. We never saw that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I know sort of about 3/4 of the way through the race, the top 5 started to close up a lot. And I was thinking, okay, we're on for a great race here. And I think that's probably what the cameramen were thinking as well. But once those 5 started to spread out again, they should have been looking at the action elsewhere. I mean, okay, Ricciardo, fantastic drive. He had issues with the car, cannot fault him whatsoever. And maybe that's what the cameramen were focusing on, or the camera director was focusing on, the fact that Ricciardo's got a bit of a problem. Can Vettel get him? But there was no point in the first 50 laps that hinted that Vettel's going to overtake him to warrant just following those 2 follow each other for a while. Whereas,
I mean, if Vettel was going to get him, it was going to get him within the first 5 or 10 laps of that problem.
Yeah.
If he wasn't going to get him in those first few laps of Ricciardo having a problem, he's not going to get him at all.
Yeah.
I personally think Mercedes-Benz missed a massive trick. I mean, when Bottas came out on the Supersoft, which everybody said are shit, they were probably the best on circuit.
Yeah.
Until they come up behind Raikkonen. But at that point, they'd all pitted around similar times. I don't understand why Mercedes-Benz didn't say, right, Bottas, we're going to pit Hamilton. When I think it were about like 40 around that area, 40, 50, before the gap with Ocon started to close up.
Yeah.
I think it were about 22 seconds with the gap between Bottas and Ocon.
Yeah.
So we were a fair gap to drop Hamilton back in behind Bottas, but clear of the rest. Put him on some brand new super softs.
Yeah.
Tell Bottas, look, don't fight him, let him through.
Yeah.
Let him have a crack at Raikkonen. If he can get past Raikkonen, he had pretty much the dog's bollocks down the start-finish straight because Vettel's tyres were fucked.
Yeah.
And Ricciardo's engine were fucked. I do not understand why Mercedes-Benz didn't go, let's just take a chance.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
I mean, the thing is, they got to a point as well. You mentioned about Ocon being 22 seconds behind. I did make a note. Let me just find it. Of how far Ocon was. Okay, lap 70. So with 8 laps to go, Ocon was now on the back of Bottas. And Ocon had gained 15 seconds, and that was in the space of about 10-15 laps. So
if Ocon could have caught in 15 seconds, Hamilton should have been able on a brand new set of super. So could have even done the same with Bottas. Hamilton definitely could have easily blitzed past Raikkonen, and if he could have gone past Raikkonen, then he'd have had a chance at the win. But I don't understand why they didn't just go, you know what, it's worth a pump. We're only going to lose one place.
Actually,
but I think Mercedes-Benz saw it as, we want to be on the podium, but why not try and win it?
Just to update the comment I just made then. Right, lap 67, I wrote Ocon is now catching Bottas. By lap 70, so within 3 laps, it gained 15 seconds. Right, I'm going to go through a few of my notes. Some of them are just going to be sort of neither here nor there, but I'll go through them if there's anything you want to mention or jump in with. Now that James has freed from the throne, 36 minutes God. James has spent on the toilet. You know, okay.
Well worth it.
Okay, so starting off, I am glad that Monaco did decide, you know what, don't care what your rules are, we're having grid girls and grid boys as well. Fair play to them on that. The amount of people that commented on that it was good to see them back, I thought was interesting. Just before the start of the race, Sirotkin didn't have his wheels on within the 3-minute time limit. Got a 10-second stop and go penalty for it because apparently the wheel nut got cross-threaded and the tool they needed to get it off was in the pits. Well, so that was a bit of a shame for him, but at the same time didn't really make much difference. Ricciardo had a great start, pulling away nicely. All drivers clean through sector 1 until Hartley lost his front wing, or at least
never really saw what happened to that though.
I saw a replay of it today, and it was a very, very minor touch with, I think it may have been a Sauber, on the opening lap on the run up to Casino Square and then down to the next 2 hairpins. There was a lot of cars moving about. Van Dorn was weaving all over the place trying to jump into spaces, Saubers doing similar, and it was the tiniest of touches on the rear tyre of one of the Saubers and just flicked off part of his front wing. But he kept that damage all the way to the end of the race, so he did very, very well. Let's see, lap 5, Verstappen gaining places and only 1 shown as a replay. So by lap 5 there's only 1 replay of that overtake, when there was more that could have been shown. Lap 7, Verstappen overtaking Stroll at the Harbour chicane was a nice move. And then lap 8, Verstappen overtaking Hartley, not shown live. It was only shown it wasn't shown at all from what I can remember on my notes. Lap 10, Stroll got a puncture. Williams having a disaster is what I wrote. I mean, that's something we might want to talk about. Williams having a disaster. Stroll actually qualified not too bad. Sirotkin wasn't great, but once the race had got going, both Williams smack at the back, totally screwed.
I think it just shows the lack of experience there is there. It's one of those circuits that will highlight the lack of experience, and that's why Max was at the back.
Well, I'm interested to see what James thinks about this, because I know he's slated Williams a bit this season.
They're just so shit, aren't they? You would not expect Williams to be way behind Alfa Romeo Sauber, and they don't have a clue what's like I say. Just if they told the people, oh look, we're giving up on this car, we're looking forward to next year, they won't do that because of all sponsors. But at the end of the day, Martini, the main title sponsor, they're leaving at the end of the year, so you might as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
At least give people a bit of hope for next year rather than just going, oh, we'll try do something with this year's car. But I never see any Williams, like the proper top bosses of Williams. I never see them. Back when like Massa and Bottas were there, you used to see them all the time. Like Claire Williams, who used to love getting her face going, I'm the head of Williams. Oh, this is Rob Smedley. We've brought him in from Ferrari. Now you don't see fucking anybody.
Well, when it's going bad though, they all hide, don't they? They don't want to speak to the media.
Yeah, I know it's on Sky Sports coverage. Christian Horner, because obviously, Bella, you've got sellotape. How have you got sellotape attached here? How have you done that?
Maybe she was bringing it to you to use as loo roll.
Oh, she's looking at me like as if I'm trying to give her a wax, but how have you done that? This is going to work, don't cry. Good girl. Well done. Christian Horner, he, on Sky Sports coverage, Martin Brundle on his grid walk were like looking for people because it's like a minefield.
Yeah.
Christian Horner went after Brundle to talk to him. Now, if that ain't like, oh, talk to me because now I've got a guy on pole.
Yeah.
But yet for a fact, if Red Bull were 10th or backwards, he wouldn't want to speak to anybody.
No, that's true.
As well, what really annoying me were podium celebration and there's bloody Jerry Halliwell outside Lewis Hamilton just going, oh, isn't it great? I'm like, yes, I know why you've married him. It's not because of who he is. Well, it is exactly that. It's exactly for who he is rather than his actual personality. It's just to basically get free tickets to go to F1 Grand Prix and hang out with multi-millionaires. That's what it is.
Oh, James, would you marry Christian Horner to get free tickets to Formula 1?
No.
I would.
No way.
As long as you don't want sex, alright. I'll tell you what did do my head in.
I might with that Kimi Raikkonen's missus.
Yeah. Anyway.
Mintu.
Into. I want to get into.
I think it's Mintu, I think.
Yeah. You're right, I was taking the piss. Something that did do my head in, I do like the fact that Formula 1 is doing having a team principal they can talk to throughout practice sessions, qualifying sessions and the race. However, please never have Cyril a beat ball again, because I could never fucking tell what he was saying.
You need subtitles, don't you?
I mean, what James...
Renault.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it was like. I mean, I don't know if you noticed as well, quite often he'd start talking and then you could tell somebody in the Sky sound booth has gone, turn the volume up on him because I can't fucking hear him. And even when they turned the volume up, I still couldn't understand a word he was saying. So, whereas, I mean, Christian Horner is good at doing that from the pit wall chat, and so is the Force India guy, Zafnauer. The Toro Rosso one is always interesting. But Manisha Kaltenborn, when she used to do it, she was one of the first to do it as well, I think. She was always good to listen to on the pit wall.
Our six drivers are doing very well this weekend.
But none of them will be in the car. Okay, so back to my notes then. Lap 11, Bottas dropping off 4 seconds to Raikkonen. What did you think about the start of the race with how Ricciardo was pulling away? Vettel not too far away, Hamilton struggling, Raikkonen struggling, Bottas struggling more.
I saw it as Ricciardo just setting the pace to keep the field close enough together so that people couldn't do the undercut because they'd come out in traffic. If he wanted to push harder and open up more of a gap, he could have done. But he probably was aware that if he does that and pushes hard, there's a good chance a safety car would come out and he'd lose his gap anyway. So I think he was just pacing himself to be just far enough ahead and keeping it steady and keeping the field tight enough that the undercut wasn't going to be there for anyone.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much doing what Hamilton tried to do to Rosberg in Abu Dhabi a few years ago. Although this one was more tactical. Hamilton was told to speed up, and he was like, "No, you're all right. I know what I'm doing." But I agree with you. It did look like if Ricciardo wanted to, he could just fly off.
Yeah. But I don't know how the hell he got that car to the end. Well, how the hell can he... Well, the problem that he had, he was still faster than the Ferrari.
Yeah. Well, we'll get onto that in a moment when I get to my notes about that particular incident. So I just want to mention, I mean, James hasn't mentioned anything about the start there. He's probably still wiping his arse. James? James?
Making a cup of tea and making the missus feel better.
Probably is.
Oh,
actually.
sorry, I pressed mute. Sorry.
Yeah, not bad. Easily done.
Yeah, the start. I saw a couple of onboards today with my favourite Kevin Magnussen.
Hang on, there sounds a bit more joy in your voice at the moment, James. What's Vicky doing to you while you were accidentally on mute?
No, I'm just free of that big poo.
Oh, right, okay.
I feel like I can actually breathe now. The start of the race, you usually expect a bit of carnage down at turn one. They want a lot, but yeah, not a huge amount happening. I remember seeing Stoffel Van Dorn trying it round the outside at the hairpin, but it didn't really come off. There were not a huge amount that happened, but I mean, loads of people said it were quite a boring race, but I much preferred it to
Solo.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll wait. I'll save that for later.
Yeah, save it. Okay, quickly back to my notes. Lap 12, Hamilton pits from third place, right? I actually thought, sort of touching on what James said, I thought when they pitted Hamilton at lap 12, I thought, brilliant, he's going to get an undercut, may even go for a two-stop here, could be very aggressive. But when Hamilton pitted, he was 2 seconds behind Vettel. By the time Vettel pitted on lap 16, Hamilton was 6 seconds behind him. Because the ultra soft tyres just did not turn on, didn't work. And interestingly, I don't know if you guys remember from previous F1 games, when they had, there have been tyre compounds on the game where you take it to Monaco and you'd have to do 1 or 2 warm-up laps in qualifying before you can do a flying lap, because it just takes so long to get the tyres up to temperature. Whereas if you're having to push but cruise, you're not working the tyres enough to get them into the window. So I mean, that may have been a massive problem.
Well, you think about last year with the Ferraris, the overcut for Raikkonen, Vettel worked against Raikkonen.
Yeah, true.
Because staying on track on the old tyres, you're able to do a quicker lap time.
Yeah. Okay, lap 14, Hamilton passed Ocon, not shown, and I actually wrote at that point, what the fuck is going on? Because there was at least 7 or 8 overtakes, and this is the thing that really pissed me off. It's Monaco, you're not going to get a lot of overtakes, so at least catch the overtakes that do happen, and the fact that it didn't by lap 14 had really pissed me off. Lap 16, as I mentioned, Vettel pits, Hamilton wasn't going faster, so the gap was 6 seconds, and then lap 17, Ricciardo pits, then Bottas pits for the super softs, was the first person to do it. Have you guys any idea what may have tempted Mercedes to do that switch of strategy, considering that Niki Lauda had said before the race that they're not going to be able to split the strategy?
I think it would probably I don't know. I think they just probably thought if the pace is this slow, I don't know. I really don't know because like you couldn't really do a two-stop round there unless the pace was fast. But the pace was so slow it prevented anybody from doing an extra pit stop. But like I say, I just don't understand. I don't understand why they didn't just take a gamble with one of the two drivers at near 20 laps from end.
I mean, you look at previous races this season that Red Bull have won. They've done it by taking a gamble. Sometimes it pays off. I mean, it's possible that Hamilton was saying these tyres are shit, they're not working, and because of that, they decided to put Bottas on the other tyres. But I do think as soon as they saw what Bottas was capable of doing, they should have thought, right, okay, we need to get Hamilton onto a different set of tyres. Your thoughts, Steve?
I think it probably just came down to driver's choice. It's probably already predetermined before the race started.
Maybe. Okay, lap 17 or end of lap 17, Alonso pit and come out right in front of Van Dorn and Verstappen. What did you think of that moment? I thought there was going to be carnage, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that because I thought it's quite good to see McLaren and Red Bull having a bit of a fight. But like I say, it is still bonkers how much quicker with the same engine Red Bull are compared to McLaren. It's like it's baffling because
it's the same with Williams and Mercedes. That's even more baffling.
It is it's mental, absolutely mental. But
it's been a while since we've heard him.
I don't know. I just think it's completely baffling, but I'd like to understand why, but you're never going to know.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see like a Williams documentary right now of them going, we're shit, aren't we? We are shit.
Yeah. I think one of one of the best things for Williams is, yes, okay, they need money coming in, but a lot of their Formula One funding is also created by external businesses that they run. So they have income from other sources, whereas, I mean, okay, Red Bull, they've got assistance from Red Bull if they need it. Ferrari, they've got their cars. Mercedes got their whole fleet of vehicles. Williams, I mean, Force India, where does their money come from other than sponsors? Whereas Williams have got other businesses that they produce, money making.
Got to say though, if you look at that Force India car, I've never seen so many sponsors on the car. Literally, there's like so many little tiny sponsors. But even if companies are saying, "Look, we'll give you 20 quid," I bet they're like, "Cheers, 20 quid."
Yeah, it'll pay for what would it pay for?
a little wheel nut.
They might pay for a spark plug. Actually, no, they're 50 quid. They're 50 quid, I think.
Every little else.
Tesco's on the car. Okay, lap 21, Bottas on super softs was 2 seconds faster than Ricciardo on ultra softs. Then I wrote down lap 22, Stroll bitching.
This car I can't drive it. Oh, I don't know what that accent is. I just can't drive it. I just can't. It's because I'm yanking on the wheel so much. I can't drive it.
But even in qualifying in the practice sessions, his terminology that he uses to try and explain what the car is doing is absolutely shocking.
Go on then, what was it he said? Let's play it out. Okay, Lance, what's the problem with the car?
Got no front end. And all...
Got no friend.
I've got no friend. He's put me in a bad mood. I've got no friend.
He's on a lonely stroll.
He said something. He said something along the lines.
Yeah.
Got no front end and all that other sort of stuff.
What other?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, okay, no problem. We'll sort that out for you. I mean, well, okay, I could understand the car's not very nice to drive and it's frustrating. But at the same time, I mean, I remember seeing a piece about not John Eric Verne. He was his teammate at Toro Rosso, Sebastian Buemi.
Alderswari.
No, yeah, that's
Buemi.
it. There was Alguersuari and there was Buemi. I think it was Alguersuari. And one of the things that Red Bull was saying was one of the things they like about him as a potential future Red Bull driver was the level of detail when asked a question. So if he was asked, okay, what's the problem with the car, he might say, oh, I've got no front end, but then he'd be able to say, when I'm touching the brakes, this is happening, or when I'm turning in, this is happening, or when not all that other stuff.
Yeah, and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Senna, what's happening with car? Oh, I don't know. Can you imagine? Oh, I just... As well, oh my god, bloody Grosjean, he was bitching and moaning at end a lot more money. But what is he trying to do? Is he trying to hit me? I was like laughing and thinking, it's funny when boots on the other foot, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting though. Do you know who he was on about? You're right. Okay,
his teammate.
It was his teammate. I don't know if you've seen the footage from the start of the race, but those two pretty much go side by side through turn one, up the hill towards Casino Square, and it very nearly looks like Magnussen. You know when you're running, if you're going side by side up the hill to Casino Square,
it weaves a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. It weaves a bit, and you've got to. If the road goes left and you're on the left, you've got to go left a bit. Otherwise, as it goes left, it almost looked like Magnussen went right. And when I watched it, I was like, "Holy shit!" It looked really, really close. I can understand why Grosjean. And things. I mean, Grosjean's in a situation where he's had such a shit season that.
Yeah, he has to back out, doesn't he?
Yeah, he can't afford not to get to the end of a race. Okay, let's see. Lap 24, Bottas passes Ocon, not shown live. Another overtake that wasn't shown, although Ocon did let both Mercedes drivers. What did you think about that, by the way? Ocon not even attempting to defend, pretty much slowed down, let them go.
Well, I in the past, I've been a bit frustrated. When Red Bull were winning all their titles, whenever a Red Bull come up behind a Toro Rosso, it would pretty much fucking go past, mate. Go past you, no problem. Oh, here comes Lewis Hamilton. Block. And I kind of just thought, well, to be fair, Force India probably getting a decent
deal.
Maybe this is a couple of signs that maybe Mercedes-Benz might end up purchasing Force India.
They're not legally. They're not allowed to.
As their junior team. Well, how can Red Bull have two teams?
Because they don't own both teams. They sponsor Toro Rosso, but they are a different entity. They don't own it.
But
Mercedes,
you know Mercedes-Benz could wiggle a way around it, couldn't they? They could go, we sponsor it and we just put our branding on it, and they could make Force India their Toro Rosso.
Yeah, basically all they have to do is chuck loads of money Force India's way and say we want Mercedes running across the top of your car, and that'd be it.
But
I mean,
what were they called? Marussia. What were it called? Manor.
Manor.
When they were in and they were going out of business, I could see Mercedes probably going, to purchase that as a Toro Rosso experiment. But the more and more you see it, the more you see from Force India and how much they actually spend and how much they get out. They are probably, if you were going to look at an investment in Formula One, that team, or the team of people that work there, is probably the best investment you could go for.
Yeah.
I'm wondering though whether, they are outperforming their budget. For the amount of money that's spent at that team, they're outperforming themselves. But are they helped by Mercedes unknowingly?
Well, Mercedes, when you think about it, Mercedes offered to help Honda with their engine issues. Now, if Mercedes are willing to offer help to Honda, then they're more than likely going to offer help to Force India, Williams, and any other team, that's running a Mercedes engine. Because Mercedes, believe it or not, Mercedes have historically said, and I remember mentioning it on one of the early podcasts we did, that Paul di Resta had said this, that Mercedes want a competition. Yes, okay, they want the Mercedes to be winning, but they don't want it to be, oh, Mercedes win by 24 laps. They want it, Mercedes beat the best Ferrari, Mercedes beat the best Williams, Mercedes beat the best Red Bull. Not Mercedes beat everybody and everybody else's cars are shit. It doesn't quite look that way with the way the engines have gone over the last few years, but that's kind of the mentality that Mercedes have tried to use. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have helped Force India. But I think James is right. I mean, you look at Force India over what, the last 5-6 years, maybe even longer than that. Where have they been? Pretty much consistently best of the rest or battling with best of the rest.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
It's not like they've been laps down, struggling at the back of the grid. I mean, Sauber have improved massively, but even they've got a long way to go to get to their level.
The first time Force India actually did something of note which made me go, "Ooh, that's a bit turn up for books," were
Monza?
Spa 2009, I think, when Fisichella were chasing Kimi.
Yeah.
I think he got pole position, did Fisichella. And he came P2 in the race.
Yeah.
And from that point on, they've consistently been midfield to the between midfield and near the front. I've never seen them where it's like, oh, really shit weekend for Force India. They're nowhere near, they're not having a Williams situation.
Well, I mean, you look at it as well over the last 2 seasons, when Force India have had a shit weekend, I think there was one where they had wheel nut failures, and the other times has been when the drivers have crashed into each other. It's not been, the cars broke down or anything like that. I mean, I'm trying to think the last time I would have seen a broken down Force India, actually. Probably the last race, but...
I can't recall.
I can't.
Bahrain may have been. But yeah, I mean, Force India definitely got a very, very good package. Okay, quickly back to my notes. Lap 26. Verstappen radios with problems about downshifts, but didn't turn out to be much of a problem. What I will say about Verstappen is, I mean, Steve mentioned about a video he saw after FP3. I never got to watch FP3, but we'll get Steve to talk about this video he saw in a moment. But I think, considering how Verstappen's season has gone, he couldn't have done a better job than what he did. Other than the moment with Sainz, he kept out of trouble, he kept his car clean, he kept his car going, he got to the end, he got in the points. I actually think he was possibly in the top 2 or 3 for driver of the day.
Yeah. Driver of the day is daft to be Ricciardo.
Oh,
but
yeah, clearly.
Verstappen did what he needed to do from the back to get into the points. I mean, at Monaco, it's not easy, and it's a shame that we didn't get to see more of it.
I kind of wish Monaco kept the same as it is now, but then maybe add I don't know, like a really, really long straight that's attached to the end of the circuit, because obviously you put all your downforce on for the rest of the circuit, and then have a floating, really, really long straight that goes out into the sea. There's a hairpin, and they come all the way back so that it's there's a long straight and a decent
What, like in Miami?
Zone. I can't remember. But yeah, kind of like at Miami. Yeah, like a really, really long straight hairpin, and then back in. So there's a decent overtaking zone.
You know what? Right, imagine this. Right, you're coming through the tunnel, down the hill, braking zone into the chicane, but instead of it being a chicane, it's a 90-degree left turn onto James's floating straight into the ocean to a hairpin that turns around and comes back to that harbour chicane with a 90-degree left turn towards to back.
Yeah, exactly. Because it'd be a big enough braking zone, and you can also have like a
I could just picture cars
like,
driving along it now, and the road going up and down and up and down and up and down.
Do you know one of the simplest things they could do, right, is the road down to the harbour chicane, scrap the harbour chicane, right, but you go straight to Tabac, because the road there, you've got the left side and the right side, but they've always used the left-hand side. You could use more. You could go straight and then take a 90-degree onto Tabac, but you could make Tabac a more tighter corner, more 90 degrees, so that it is heavier braking. But you think of the speed that you would get coming out of the tunnel, going all the way down there.
I've got to say, of all corners, Tabac's probably my favourite, and I wouldn't want to ruin that.
I'd agree with you. I think just from a safety perspective, I mean that would result in a very high speed section of track with zero runoff room. I mean, if you crash there, you're ending up in the shop. It's like, yeah, I'll have 20 Benson and edges and that Red Bull front wing, thank you very much.
Do you want to know that the tobacconist isn't there anymore?
Oh, I did not know that.
It's not been there for about 7 or 8 years.
So was James doing an impression of a Red Bull driver, or has he just realised he's not done something?
No, I was just imagining him being in the shop,
I thought
and then turning round and an F1 cat coming through a window. But yeah, maybe I was thinking, add the straight. You go through the swimming pool chicane, and then that right-hander, which has been a bit sanitised because it's curved now, I'd make that back to a 90-degree square, and then I don't know.
Well, interestingly, actually, I'm just going to mention something. You may remember this. There was a racing game. It may have been a Need for Speed, where it gave a version of Monaco where you would go through the swimming pool chicane. You're heading towards Rascasse, but instead of turning right, you turn left, and you head down where is now used as the F1 Paddock Club, and you go all the way down to the end to a hairpin, and then come all the way back up to Rascasse into the final corner. And if they could do something, I mean, Rascasse is a famous corner, but don't get me wrong, not a lot happens there. If they did turn that into a faster left that went down to some kind of hairpin, it would potentially give an opportunity for some overtakes. I just want to quickly get Steve to talk a little bit about Verstappen having problems with his downshifts, but also having problems in FP3. Steve, you told me a story about a video you saw about Verstappen's crash. Do you want to tell James and the viewers about it?
Oh yeah, I saw somebody had posted it on Twitter, but it come up on my Facebook. And basically, what somebody had done is taken 2016 crash.
And then mirrored it, and it were exactly the same.
Yeah, they'd put the pictures together and ran them at the same time. So the left-hand side of the screen is only half. You're only seeing half a screen, obviously, but you've got 2016 on the left, and you've got 2018 on the right. So they've joined the car together, and it is absolutely identical. Just so spot on, perfectly identical. But what got me though was Helmut Marko's comment to Verstappen when he got back to the pits after FP3. It's like, what did you do that for? It's like you know, because what is the point in pushing that hard at that point when the risks are so high? Because you know your team's not going to have enough time to put the car back together.
Yeah.
So I mean, having that incident, if you have that incident in quali, you could say, "Sorry, I was just pushing as hard as I could."
Yeah.
But to do it in FP3, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, like on my racing league, it's not exactly the same, but that circuit round that Bannock Bray, it's one of them where there's so many little nooks and crannies where you can easily fuck up. And me and Dave were practicing and going round, and when you're going round and you know it's not actually you're not actually in the session, you push a hell of a lot harder because you're like, well, this doesn't really matter. Yeah. So if I crash, and you know, I'll learn something. once it got to qualifying and the race, I think I went throughout the entire event. I made one mistake on the build up to the race. I must have made about 50 at least. So I knew that in the race I was pushing, but I was pushing to a limit which I thought was not going a bit OTT and losing it. And kind of what you were saying there, practice one, you're going to be less inclined to push because it's green. Practice 2, that's probably the time when you really need to push and show what you've got. Practice 3 is always one of them where it's like push, but push to about 95%. Because it's not worth. Because if you win it, you're fucked.
Well,
and I just can't understand how it. I mean, I'm watching the footage, and it was literally like as if you were on a quali lap. And it was like, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, something that was mentioned was the fact that they would have had that car ready if it had been any other circuit. But the spares are in the other paddock, which is a 20-minute walk to get there and back. So if you walk there and back to get the spares and then go, oh shit, we also need a gearbox, that's another 20 minutes.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. When they got the car repaired, fired it up, tested running through the gears, and realised the gearbox needed changing. And at that point, they're screwed. But I mean, you're both right. I mean, you push to a limit. I mean, I remember when I used to practice for races around Monaco, and I was the same as most people, where the first couple of sessions driving, well, more than a couple of sessions, but the first few days of driving around the track, I'd be bouncing off walls all over the place. As you're getting your setup done, learning the braking points, the turning points, no matter how well you know the track, you have to relearn it. Sounds like
it's finding the limit.
It's finding the knife and fork.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought that on mute. Sorry.
He's washing up.
He's doing it. Yeah,
I'm washing up. Otherwise, I'm dead.
It is finding that limit. Now, what I always used to pride myself on was, I mean, I loved racing around Monaco, but when it came to the races, I always prided myself on avoiding the barriers, staying out of the barriers. So all of my practice would be push, 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 push. And I would hit walls and I would make mistakes, but that's how you learn. Right, that doesn't work, I'll try something else. That doesn't work, I'll try something else. And that's where you find your rhythms, your limits and stuff like that. And then when it comes to the races, you, like as James says, you go 95%. You know, if you push that a little bit more, there's a chance you'll go into the barrier, and it's not a risk that's worth taking. But that is one of the reasons why I like Monaco. Okay, on to probably what will be the biggest topic of the conversation we're going to have about Monaco this weekend. I write it down, lap 28, Ricciardo losing power, 30 kilometers an hour slower on the start-finish straight. I don't know about you guys, but I know when I heard him say I'm losing power, I felt so bad for him, thinking he was robbed a few years ago of a win at Monaco. I mean, it was a disaster, the fact that he was saying that.
I was expecting Vettel just to drive past him.
Yeah.
But I just don't get how... I understand that he could still take corners at the same speed. He was getting out the corners quick enough, but he just didn't have the top end.
Yeah.
But
I think they obviously go, oh, well, it's not a power-dependent circuit. That proved it. That proves that you could keep somebody behind you, even going like 20 mile an hour slower on straight.
Yeah. I mean, it did. I mean, it helped him the fact that he was in a Red Bull, probably one of the best chassis on the grid. The fact that it was Monaco. The fact that Vettel's tyres were dying. I also think it helped him. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, the Mercedes engineer lied to Lewis Hamilton and said, everyone else's tyres are looking just as bad as yours, after we'd just seen that Ricciardo's looked like they were brand fucking new. But I think that helped him as well, because his car was down on power. It was actually looking after the tyres that little bit better.
Yeah, it was, but also he was forced into having to look after his tyres, so that... Because Hamilton at some points was having to push and ruin his tyres. Vettel was having to push, but that ruined his tyres. And then you've got Ricciardo, who couldn't push because he didn't have the power to. So it was like, okay, I need to look after the tyres, I need to look after the engine, and he had to drive it in such a way that it looked after it, and it worked in his favour.
Okay, question for you. Christian Horner said to him at the end of the race that was up there with Schumacher in '95 when he won at Spain only using fifth gear. James might not be old enough to remember that race. I barely remember it. Steve will remember it. But do you guys think that that is up there on that sort of level?
No.
No, because it's a bit like, I think Senna. I think he also didn't he have a race where he only had one gear when he had the cramp at Brazil.
Yeah, I think so.
You saw the effort and all that shit. I mean, you could tell that he was in excruciating pain getting out of the car. Danny Ricciardo, yeah, he might have been mentally in pain, but physically he didn't look like he was in pain at all. He was like, yeah, I've won, yeah.
I mean, there's a big difference between a car that's not got so much power at top end to a car that's stuck in one gear. But what I would say about Schumacher in Spain, he did have a massive lead at the point when he was stuck in fifth, and they were closing down on him. And I think probably a lot of other drivers though would have given up, but Schumacher didn't, and that was what would made the difference in '95.
I mean, I'm tempted to agree with you that it's not quite on that level. I mean, the cars are very different. I mean, there is a big difference, as you say. I mean, it would appear that he wasn't really able to use 7th and 8th gear, which around Monaco actually ain't that much of a problem.
Well, nobody used 8th gear around Monaco. 7th was the highest gear any of them was getting into.
I'm going to correct you on that, because the Saubers were through the tunnel. Or at least by the time they were exiting the tunnel, they were in 8th.
Okay, I'll put it a different way. None of the top teams were using 8th gear coming out of the tunnel.
All right, I'll let you off. Yeah, I mean it's a fantastic feat. I mean this is the thing about it, right? Okay, James mentioned about Senna at Brazil. You could tell that he was struggling physically when you watch it. You could tell it's a fight. Schumacher, you could tell it was difficult. You could see that the car didn't want to exit the corners very quickly. You could see the physicality of it. With Ricciardo's problem, I mean, if there had been no team radio, you wouldn't have known anything about it.
No, you'd have just thought, oh, he's pacing himself.
Yeah.
Allowing the pack to catch up to put pressure on the guys behind. I
mean, the biggest difficulty he would have had, or at least that Horner sort of said he had, was the fact that because it affected the recharge rate of the MGUK, or MGUH, sorry, it meant that his rear brakes weren't working in the way that you would normally expect them to work. So he did have to change his driving style, and okay, you're not really going to see much of that. And I don't want to get onto engines too much, but the changes that he would have had to have made were mainly switches and just lifting and coasting a bit more on braking zones. I mean, I think...
Will this benefit Red Bull? I'm just thinking that the information they've gained, for him to be able to still race minus the MGUK, all right,
MGUH,
and yeah, because of that, and because he adapted his driving style, when they do have it working fully, what happens if he adapts his driving style as well? Does that make the car quicker? Have they found something from having to do this?
Maybe, you never know. Because I mean, one of the things that was interesting, as the Sky commentary team mentioned, was on his way into the tunnel, his car was harvesting energy, which effectively means the car is being slowed down a little bit while trying to collect that energy, which you don't see people doing on the way in acceleration zones. Which is right. You'd normally see it in braking zones, or in some cases on a longer straight. But maybe you're right in that Red Bull may have found, actually, you know what, we can charge our battery. If we're so good in traction zones anyway, and we can charge our batteries a bit on corner exits, then maybe we can use it to our benefit. It could just be the Monaco factor as well. I mean, I was surprised that Vettel wasn't even able to have one attempt.
Yeah, he should coming out of the tunnel or going down the pit straight. He should have been up alongside him every time.
Yeah. Okay, James has been quiet for a while, so he's doing his washing up still. He's got mute on, or he's been talking and he's forgot he's got mute on.
No, I'm washing up. I'm listening, but yeah. I do kind of understand what you mean. Like with Red Bull, could have found something, but I think it's mainly that Monaco factor. I don't think it'll translate as well to other circuits.
Okay.
Not even Shanghai.
You mean Singapore?
Not Shanghai, Singapore, sorry.
Possibly, but I doubt it.
Okay, James. You talk about the Monaco factor. What about the emotion factor? When on lap 31, Danny Ricciardo says to his engineer, "Will it get better?" and he gets the response of negative.
I felt like saying to him, "When does it ever get better? If you ever have a problem, when do you ever hear them going, 'It's okay, we've fixed it now'?" No, you hear that once in a blue moon. If I'd have been Ricciardo, I'd have been like just praying that it didn't get any worse. And he's so bloody lucky.
Yeah,
I think he's more lucky than anything. But that's what you have to do.
I don't know if you've had it yet, James. I know I have, and I know Steve has. When you're driving a car in real life, that's a heavy piss James is having.
No.
Pisses like a horse as well. Yeah, when you're driving a real car and you know that something might not quite be right with it, whether you know you need your brakes doing or something, and you hear every noise and you're thinking, "Come on, just don't die on me, don't die on me."
Yeah.
I've had too many cars like that.
I mean, I experienced some other day. Like straight away, I noticed there was something amiss. I went to Vicky. I said, "There's something not right with this." And she went, "What's up?" I went, every time I put it in first gear, it's literally like the clutch was slipping. And I'm like, normally it feels a bit more bitey than that. I'm like, oh, fuck's sake, I hope it didn't go. So I need to take that in, but they'll probably tell me that I need to pay them another 500 quid to sort that out.
More than likely, it'll be, "Oh yeah, you can change your clutch for 100 quid," and then they'll phone you up the next day and go, "Well, your clutch plate's got a crack in it, so you're going to need to replace that. That means we've got to take your engine out, so that's going to be another 400 quid." And that's when you find out, well, clutch plates always have cracks in it, so unless it's going to explode on me, I don't give a fuck. Do it for the 100 quid that you said you was going to. Okay, lap 32, Bottas, after losing ground to Raikkonen, starts catching Raikkonen, with Bottas being on the super soft tyre. Fire through some more of these notes now. Lap 35, Hamilton closing in on Vettel and Ricciardo, and I must admit, as soon as Ricciardo started having his problems and was lapping 4 seconds a lap slower, I think it was 3 seconds, 4 seconds a lap slower, I'm thinking, okay, Hamilton and Raikkonen and Bottas going to catch him up in no time, but didn't quite work out that way. Lap 36, Stroll, another front left puncture, not bad.
Just goes to show how shit he really is.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
I'm just glad he doesn't work for his dad's company, because if he did, their clothing section, all the clothes would just fall apart when you get wet. Okay, lap 37, Gasly. First pit stop from the Hyper Softs. 37 laps he did on the Hyper Soft tyre, and then went on to the Super Softs. I was very impressed with how Gasly drove his opening stint.
Should he be in the other Red Bull?
In place of who? Verstappen?
Verstappen. I think he'll be in the Red Bull next season if
Ricciardo moves.
Ricciardo's not there. But should he be in it for Max? But are Red Bull likely to take that gamble again, because the same thing could start happening to
don't
Gasly.
think they won't move Max because he's the only one under contract for next year. Whereas,
He's not. It's not the only one under contract for next year. Science.
I wouldn't be surprised though if there's some kind of release clause on Science where if Red Bull want to put somebody else in their car for next season, Science has got the option to stay at Renault or go elsewhere. Okay, my next note. I'm curious if both of you two thought that this is the thought that you two had. Fucking yes, come on. And that was lap 41, Vettel blackout on his dash. I know at that point I was thinking, come on, break down, you cunt.
I probably wasn't being that aggressive, but
I was hoping for a total failure.
Yeah, I don't know. He's usually a bit jammy, isn't he, Vettel? He can have a problem. Just a bit like what happened to Ricciardo that race. But more often than not with Vettel, it'll come good no matter what he does. But yeah, I didn't really pay much attention because until you hear a driver going, I'm fucking losing it. He didn't sound very stressed when he said, I've just lost the dash.
Yeah.
That's all he said. Whereas when you hear a bit of stressing voice, you're like, oh, this is serious.
Yeah. Like when Grosjean said, what's he fucking trying to do to me? Fucking crashing to me.
Where's my croissant?
Okay, lap 46, the top 5 are closing up. Could be exciting end to the race. Maybe not. Lap 48, Verstappen pits, ultra softs to hyper softs, went from 9th to 11th. I mean, we talked quite a bit about Verstappen, so we don't really need to touch much more on there. Lap 51, I wrote, missing so much action. Once again, talking about the coverage, it was just fucking annoying, to be honest. Okay, lap 55, Alonso lost power. Alonso out. Upset, guys? Frustrated?
I were a bit upset. Yeah, I wanted to see him carry on a bit more. Yeah, were it Gasly up behind him at that time?
Yeah, I think it was.
So if he hadn't had that problem, he'd have stayed in front of Gasly, and where would that have put him?
Let's see. It would have put him P7.
Yeah, so that wouldn't have been a bad result, really. Would have been decent. He did have a bit of help from Van Dorn
blocking
pit lane exit, but it was well worth it.
I mean, that's good team orders, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that was a very tight pit exit. But I can imagine Van Dorn thinking, go, and Verstappen thinking, cut. Okay, lap 56, unless you've got anything you want to add about Alonso there, Steve?
No, just it was a shame. I never used to be an Alonso fan, but it's got to the point now where I want to see him back on the podium.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because I never was a fan of his, but it's almost if I feel sorry for him that he's just not had the car underneath him for so many years.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, lap 56, top 5 are now line astern. They'd closed up, and I'm thinking, yes, come on. Let's see, lap 56, Renault, good team orders, letting Hulkenberg through. I'm sure you guys saw it. Hulkenberg, so I've got to say, fair play to Sainz. He did what he needed to do as far as the team's concerned. Let Hulkenberg through without losing the place himself.
But how come the coverage caught that, which was a, how can you put it, manipulated overtake, yet they missed genuine overtakes?
Because they were shit.
Yeah.
It's the only way I could really put it. I mean, for people, I mean, we know how difficult it is when you're watching a race to catch all the action. It isn't easy, but at a race like Monaco, it is actually the easiest one of them all to catch action, because if there's a second between cars, or second or more, nothing's going to happen. If there's half a second between cars, you never know. Go and look. And it was fucking annoying, the amount of... I mean, not even that. I mean, if I'd have been the race director, the in charge of the cameras, I'd be saying, right, okay. I mean, this actually, one of the rules we used to give out, or one of the things we used to say to people we were teaching to broadcast, we'd say, right, when you're working the cameras, your number one rule is to catch the leader. Basically, you follow the leader. However, if there is no action on the leader, your job then is to catch the highest up the field battle. So it doesn't matter if that's in 14th and 15th, if that's the highest battle, go and watch that. Because there's nothing more boring than watching one car go around the track with nothing happening while there's 19 other cars where other stuff could happen. And we'd always say, like, right, if you go and watch that battle, and then your co-commentators can keep an eye on whoever's in front or other people they're getting closer, and they can then tell you, go and watch them. But I would also add into that, with this Monaco race, it'd be like, right, okay, I'd probably have one person just watching Verstappen's on board, and you say, right, whenever he gets close to anybody, put your hand up, we'll come watch. It's as simple as that. So simply because he's in the best car around Monaco for that race weekend. He's on pretty decent tyres. He's going to go long. Towards the end, he's going to be on faster tyres. Watch him. Stuff's going to happen. And it just seems those simple things are missed. Anyway. Let's see, lap 58, Verstappen overtake, massively cut the harbour chicane, as we mentioned on Carlos Sainz. And then lap 63, I wrote tight battles across the grid, which there were. I don't know if you guys noticed it, there was a slightly new feature on the timing tower at one point where it highlighted in red lines the cars that were actually grouped in battles. I liked that little feature, but it also pissed me off because it made me think, right, okay, you've obviously got a computer that's telling you these guys are in a close battle. Why haven't you fucking told your cameramen?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, these two are close together in a battle, but we're not watching the battle.
Yeah, we're going to watch.
Let's have a look at two drivers that are 2 seconds apart.
Yeah. Okay, lap 67. And I've got to say, this is the point, I mentioned it earlier, but Ocon now catching Bottas. That was a point where, you know what, Ocon, in my book, went up a level. Because he was having a fairly decent race, keeping out of trouble, bit questionable about letting the Mercs through. But for the last, 20 laps of the race, he was probably one of the best drivers on that grid.
Yeah, and all this about letting the Mercs through, you could easily just say, his race isn't with the Mercs.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to lose time or have an incident with the Mercs. Just let them get on with what they're doing. But it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if a Ferrari come up behind him. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, then wrote Red Bull message to Max Verstappen to overtake clean. Because I actually wrote this. Could have been because a safety car, had Max have pushed too hard, not overtaken cleanly, ended up in the barrier, brought out the safety car, I think it could have cost Ricciardo the race.
Yeah, especially if people got free pit stops.
Yeah, free pit stops or cold tyres, lack of power on a restart. I mean, if you've suddenly got Vettel right up your gearbox on a brand new set of tyres with an opportunity to just go, it could have been a very tricky one. But it's also possible that the message actually came from the race stewards to say, look, we'll let you off with that attempted overtake, but keep it clean, otherwise the next one you get a penalty. But I actually do think it was just a genuine Red Bull message saying, look, don't you, if somebody else sticks it in a barrier, there's fuck all we can do about that. Just make sure it's not you that does it.
Yeah, it might have been just a reminder, a reminder of what was said before the race.
A new name. Oh, James got a new commentary name for you. Max cunts happen. So I apologise to Max Verstappen. I'm only joking.
I thought you were going to say I apologise for all the cuts out there.
No, fuck them. Okay, lap 69. I wrote, if Danny Ricciardo wins, driver of the day. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, everybody would drive. No offence to him, but everybody was driving at like 80% because we wouldn't go any quicker. I just wish a few corners would be opened up a bit wider to give people more opportunity to shoot inside or something.
Interesting. Last week we were talking about the frustration of opening up one of the corners at the Harbour Chicane, but I know what you say there. That corner's not the corner to open up. If they opened up turn 1, different situation. Definitely. But there you go. I mean, it's a shame that they can't. I mean, as much as Lowe's hairpin is a historic corner of Monaco and Formula 1, if they could do anything a little bit different with that corner to make it, I mean, I don't know, maybe actually use the forecourt of the hotel where there's a bit more room. I mean, I don't know, just, yeah, open it up a bit more.
Yeah. Well, this is it. The two circuits that desperately need a change, well, 3 actually. Spain, the last corner. I mean, the second to that little Mickey Mouse bit, that needs removing.
Yep.
Needs reverting back.
Monaco needs something just to promote overtaking, and Abu Dhabi.
I'll tell you what, James.
Abu Dhabi needs a complete revamp. There's plenty of other tracks within the Abu Dhabi circuit that they could do.
Yeah.
You see all sorts of little roads that they do for different categories that they could manipulate.
I watched some of the classic races. It was shown on Sky. Yeah.
They put it on, and I were out at the time.
Well, because they were, put it this way, the cars from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, that sort of era, no wings on them. There were overtakes on every single corner because they could follow so closely. So, you know, and the cars are not that wide either, but people were able to make an attempted overtake pretty much anywhere on the track. But then they did the classic 70s and 80s, I think it was, and it was a procession.
Yeah.
So it was like, as soon as they got aeros on, they couldn't overtake.
Well, it's a little bit like...
Maybe they could say for Monaco,
no wings.
You'd fly in front of the rear wing.
Yeah. I mean... That'd
be quite good, I think. You know, like in IndyCar, for the ovals, they have a...
Really?
They have a different aero package. Yeah.
You just say to them, look, your front wing has to be maximum 1 millimetre, and your rear wing has to be maximum 1 millimetre. Good luck.
And you have to run on bicycle tyres.
Yeah. With your puncture repair kits in the car. I mean, it was interesting seeing Keke Rosberg and Nico Rosberg in their championship-winning cars. And
I thought you were going to say Keke was one.
I nearly said Bosberg. But yeah, seeing Keke's car and seeing it have no front wing. I mean, to a lot of young people now, they'd see that and think someone's broke the front wing. But actually, that's how they used to be.
That was the ground effects car,
yeah. And I mean, it was nice to see that car. Anyway, right, lap 70. Ocon now on the back of Bottas. Ocon had gained 15 seconds, mentioned that earlier. And then lap 72, the biggest incident of the race, Leclerc straight on into Hartley with his brakes failed. Do you reckon he shit himself, guys?
But first off, when I first saw it, I thought, oh, what a knobhead. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't until I saw the off-board where you saw the puff of black smoke that I thought, oh, actually. Because I personally thought he'd lost it by trying to ride the curb on the right-hand side, but it wasn't until after that you realise he was just trying to move the car as far over to the right to avoid the car in front. But, yeah, I think it was just unfortunate, but like I said, they were going, oh, well, we were looking at his thing and it were telling us that his brakes were alright. Really, if I were FIA, I'd be like, can I have a look at that data, please?
Yeah.
Well, afterwards, he did say that his pedal started to get a bit long and a bit squidgy.
Yeah.
So he knew that something wasn't 100% with his brakes.
Well, he wasn't the only one as well. I mean, we mentioned actually about Force India. I mean, I don't know whether it was Force India trying to up Ocon a bit or not, but they're actually saying that Ocon was struggling with brakes as well. It was on the limit of brake failure, and had to drive for quite some time with a bit of a dodgy brake situation. But I mean, it's an interesting one because Monaco, other than the harbour chicane, it's not really massive braking zones, is it? They're sort of medium braking zones, but I suppose it is relentless. And if you've got a braking system which is also harvesting energy, where your brake disc and stuff like that is smaller now than it used to be in the past, and you're pushing everything to the limit in terms of temperature, failures are a possibility.
But also, because they're running at lower speeds, they don't get the same air going through the ducts, same amount of air, so they don't get the same cooling.
Yeah, I mean, I did feel for Leclerc, but to be honest, I felt just as badly for Hartley as well, because he was having a very good race with his damaged car, and was just unfortunate. What did piss me off a bit though was the next note I wrote was lap 73. So that incident happened on lap 72, but it took a lap pretty much. The VSC comes out just as the top three had passed the pits.
Yep.
Now, not being daft, as soon as that crash happened where it did, I actually thought safety car. And when it was gone,
Martin Brundle, as soon as it happened, he one of his first words were, VSC.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, nah, there's no VSC boards come out yet.
Yeah.
And it was, like I say, it was another lap it would be interesting to know the procedures that the FIA take to make that decision.
Yeah.
Because you could see there's shitloads of carbon fibre everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I know
it should have just been an instant whack on the button VSC.
Yeah, I mean, I know I defended the FIA in terms of we don't know like what legal processes they have to say tick this box before they do it. But I knew it was going to be at minimum a VSC. You did, James did, Brundle did, most people did, and it's the first time since we last had the argument about when the VSC comes out. It's the first time that I've thought, well, isn't that a bit suspicious that they've brought it out just as the top three have gone past the pits?
Yeah.
I mean, if they'd have done it 10 seconds earlier, then the top three would have had the opportunity to pit if they wanted to. I mean, okay, hardly anybody did pit other than Van Dorn, I think it was. But he wasn't in a points paying position anyway. But it did make me question, okay, yeah, they may have their processes they have to do, but it did just make me think, that's a little bit suspicious, that is.
Yeah, because they know that 2 race results so far this season have been decided by a VSC, and they probably don't want another one. Because then all the hard work that's going to introducing VSC becomes a bit of a joke.
Yeah, but I mean, had Raikkonen or Bottas decided, you know what, let's jump in the pits, stick on the hypersoft tyre, be 4-5 seconds a lap faster. I mean, you lose 19 seconds in the pit lane, you only need 4 laps, and there's 5 laps to go.
Well, they wouldn't have lost 19 seconds in the pit lane. Yes, it would. It would still take them 19 seconds to go through the pit lane, but it's not 19 seconds of track time because the guys on the track are obviously going a lot slower.
Yep.
So by the time they've rejoined, they're not 19 seconds further down from where they previously were. They would be 10, probably, like James says, 10 seconds further down than what they previously were.
Yep.
I can't remember if it was just me or if I'm wrong or whatever, but I'm pretty sure did it show the Mercedes pit crew waiting just in case?
Yeah. And I think that was basically if it was going to be a safety car.
Right.
Okay, next question then, to do with my next note. I mentioned earlier, like, did you guys have the fucking come on, yeah, breakdown thought? I'm just curious what you thought when Van Dorn did his pit stop under the virtual safety car and came out of the pits just in front of Vettel.
Yeah, I'm surprised in a way that Mark Webber, not Mark Webber,
Mark Webber.
Ricardo didn't just let him through, let him go.
Well, I'm more on about the fact that Van Dorn's coming down the pit lane. Would you, right? I mean, I actually thought, okay, as soon as Van Dorn come out of the pits in front of Vettel, this is still under VSC condition, right? I thought at that point, I was like, yes, that means Danny Ricciardo, all he's got to do is get to the end. Vettel ain't getting him now. But if you were on the McLaren pit wall, or if you were Van Dorn, would you want to be putting yourself in that position? Or as you're coming down the pit lane, do you want your engineer saying, right, the leaders are coming up to you, just back off a bit, let them go?
Yeah.
I think though, if anything, he wanted to try and get ahead of. He was hoping to come out of the pits ahead of Ricciardo, and then he would have some clear track to try and benefit from his pit stop. But because he came out in the position he didn't benefit from pitting at all.
But then after the safety car restart, like Brundle only picked up on it after about half a lap, but straight away out looking at the delta.
Yeah.
And it went virtual safety car ending, and it went Ricciardo
to Vettel.
3 second gap. Then it went 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. And I was looking at the thing going, he's got a problem. I was talking to myself going, he's got a problem. Vettel must have a massive problem. He's losing so many seconds. And then half a lap later, Brundle went, Where's Vettel? And I'm like, yeah, I've been looking at the delta for the past minute.
Yeah.
But it was all to do with because Ricciardo was able to keep his tyres in good condition. It was easier to maintain the heat and the pressure in them.
Yeah.
And because
imagine if you were on a brand new set and you come up behind Vettel who was struggling like fuck, you'd have breezed past him on a straight.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You look at Van Dorn. He come out of the pits. He left Vettel for dead.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why I just don't understand why none of the teams were willing to take a chance.
Yeah. I mean, Vettel also did have a huge lock-up on lap 76, which I thought I was going to put it in the barrier. And that was the last of my notes, other than to write Ricciardo, fantastic drive, Verstappen, good drive. And that's when I wrote, great race, poor coverage, and no safety car. So yeah, that's pretty much all the notes I've got about the race. Is there anything else that you guys want to add to that?
Brundle were flirting with that woman. She's a model called Gigi Hadid or something.
BB Hadid.
Hadid. Well, apparently, I don't know if it were just gossip columns or whatever, but one Hamilton going out with her like last year for a week or two.
Was it in America where her and her friend were in his garage?
Yeah, I think it might have been, because it was so strange that when she were there at Monaco, she was like, Brundle automatically assumed that she were there to support Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
She was straight away like, no. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if been a bit of a weird relationship with Hamilton, like, nah.
I still think Hamilton's gay, but I could be wrong. I just realised I have taken some snapshots of a couple of bits of info, one of which is from Vettel, regarding why he didn't get past Ricciardo. And he said, I saw Ricciardo's issue and I was told by radio, and that's when I started to push. But as soon as I got too close or closer, then I struggled to stay there and never got in range, especially at the exit of the tunnel. Obviously, if you get closer, it doesn't help you with your tyres. In some corners, you don't really need power, and Ricciardo was quicker than us. He was always able to open the gap, and I was never really there. He could keep his pace, and I think that perhaps it could have been worse for us if he hadn't had some issues. Unfortunately, There weren't many chances to do something different. I think it was tricky for us to make the tyres work the right way, and I think he's right there. Fernando Alonso has apparently called on the FIA, and actually so has Lewis Hamilton. However, I don't think Hamilton ever said this when he was winning at Monaco. Well, Fernando Alonso has apparently called on the FIA to look at improving the show after labelling the Monaco Grand Prix as extremely boring. Saying this is probably the most boring race ever, without a safety car, without yellow flags. I think the sport needs to think a little bit about the show, because this is very disappointing.
Yeah,
I mean, there is a lot of hype beforehand about how, you know, it's the glitz and glamour. It's the best race on the calendar at Monaco, and it's the one that all the drivers want to win. Yet it's the boring race on the calendar.
Yeah, like I say, I already set my brain into a mode of this is going to be boring. Just watch it, see if anybody crashes. That's the main thing.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's about, you know, can these drivers get the laps done without hitting a wall? And some drivers will attempt to make an overtake, and can they do it without hitting walls? And unfortunately, they were not in positions to be able to overtake. Now, hopefully, with the changes they make to the front wings for next season, that might help a little bit. But maybe they need to change it, because I remember Monaco Grand Prix where you would have 4 pit stops per race, and that would mix things up all the time, because obviously you'd have teams trying to stretch out a 2-stop or a 3-stop while other teams are doing a 4-stop.
Do they need special Monaco tyres then? Because, not being daft, if you've got the hyper soft, the ultra soft and the super soft, and you can one-stop Monaco on the hyper soft and the ultra soft, they're not soft enough.
They're not soft enough. They're not soft enough. No. The
You know what this just reminded me of? The commentary that I did on my racing league the other week, where Paul, as Nigel Bolt, said, I think he's just going to keep the same shitty tyres on. Everybody was just running around on the shittest tyres ever, just because they didn't want to lose track position. It's just like, this isn't a race, this is just... But the only way Monaco could actually be a race is if they were going flat out, and they were just pedalling around.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't help them the fact that because the tyres weren't working, they couldn't push. And exactly. I mean, this thing, you look at laps of when Senna's going around Monaco, he's pushing every fucking lap.
Yeah.
And it's not like that in Formula 1 anymore, which is a shame. Okay, slightly different bit of news. Ferrari's long-serving chief designer, Simone Resta, will leave the team at the end of this month to join Sauber as its technical director.
Goodbye, Marcus Ericsson. See ya. We've got another Ferrari junior driver coming, and you're no longer needed. Bye.
Yeah. It's an interest. I mean, I don't know much about this guy, but it is interesting that Ferrari are definitely taking a much more active role in Sauber, which it can only be good for Sauber, really.
Well, is it that he's left to go to Sauber because Ferrari are helping Sauber more? Or is it he's done such a shit job at Ferrari, they're getting rid of him, so he's got to go wherever he can?
Maybe. Okay, I mentioned about Esteban Ocon having problems with his brakes. I found the information about that. Ocon had to overcome a brake-by-wire failure in the closing laps of the Grand Prix as he held off Pierre Gasly, Hülkenberg and Max Verstappen. Esteban lost the brake-by-wire for the last 2 laps. How he managed to drive it was remarkable. A great effort from him. From our side, we were only looking for mistakes and reliability issues to move up, and there weren't any. So we are where we are. So Ocon, I'm pretty sure he got within about a second of Bottas, but he did finish 5 seconds behind him, so it must have been the last 2 laps where he had the brake issues that cost him a little bit of time. But yeah, I mean, I think Ocon... I mean, I mentioned about Verstappen being in the top 2 or 3 for driver of the day. I think Ocon would potentially be up there as well, finishing 6th.
But like I say, I think even if there were no overtaking, if the drivers were pushing, it'd be more exciting. If the drivers were on the limit,
like qualifying, every lap it'd be shit hot. And the only way you're going to get that is if, I mean, people have gone, oh, we don't want a tyre war, we don't want this and that. Don't have a tyre war, but
have a thumb war.
Don't have just two tyre manufacturers come in. Say, come one, come all. Each team have a different brand manufacturer.
Yeah.
And they can make whatever compound they want for whatever race they want.
Whatever they bloody want. Let's have it, and let's see the cars go flat out.
So if a manufacturer says, look, we can make a tyre that's super fast, and you won't need to change it, so be it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, who is it that is it Dunlop that provides most of the LMP1 cars? They came to Formula One basically saying, look, we make cars, we make tyres that last a very, very long time. At Le Mans, we can make F1 tyres. We can make them last as long as you want, or we can make them burn out for you. But we can make tyres. But Pirelli have got the deal. I mean, some may say, oh no, it's better if everybody has the same tyres. Well, maybe, but at the same time, if you do want to mix things up, maybe that's one way to do it. I mean, well, if a company...
If Dunlop came in and said we can make this tyre, do whatever, Pirelli would be forced to up the game.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not being forced to do fuck all. So they're just like, oh well.
Yeah, we'll play the safe game, so to speak. Talking about game, is it time to play a game?
I think it might be.
Is it a picture game?
I don't know. Has anyone got an idea for a picture game?
I have.
Have you now? What? I wonder what that would be.
I think we're going to have to name this one, What's This Ass?
Yeah, okay, that's a good name for it, actually.
Right, hang on, let me just cover up this cake so it don't go dry, and then I'm ready.
Cake? Is it a cheese cake? Cheese? Cake?
Hey up, Bella. Well, Bella's a
Oh, get this right.
Right.
I was with Mum and Dad's. Well, while James is sorting his cake out, I was with Mum and Dad's yesterday, and sometimes when I'm there, I will do a little bit of cupboard raiding for little bits of food, like curry sauces and stuff like that. And Mum had nipped out to her friends, so while she was out, I was sorting my washing out and like raiding the cupboards, and she'd asked me to take some stuff out of her freezer to put in mine because they need to use the freezer for this weekend. And when my mum come back, she walked in and she goes, "Have you taken some of the cakes then?" And I was like, "How the fuck do you know?" Right? They get these little like toffee sponge puddings in plastic pots.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And they're proper lovely. I opened the cupboard and I was like, well, there's 2 packs of 2. There's only 2 of them. I'll take one of them. Or if I'm taking like one of the double pack, I'm going to need a custard. So it was one of the first things. I was like, custard, cakes in the bag. First thing Mum said was, "So have you taken the cakes then?" I was like, "How the fuck did you know?" And she just smiled. It was like, "I bet you left them in there so that I could have them." It was like, all right, fair enough, I'll take them.
Well, talking of that, I went round to my mum and dad's on Sunday to watch the race. And they weren't in. I took Bella with me, and we were both sat there. All I'd made were a cup of tea. Sat there, watched the race. After the race, I were a bit. As soon as the race finished, I saw Danny Ricciardo get out of his car, and then I turned TV off and got back in the car and drove home. I get some message later on going, "Oh, did you come round to watch the race? Because I could tell you've been." Oh, I'd been for a cup of tea. And she was like, "Oh, I could just tell the sofa had slightly moved."
Yeah,
Like,
there's the
oh
big...
my God.
It's sunk. Big arse cheeks marks in it.
Oh,
And as well, you might as well keep going with this chat just for 2 more minutes, because I promised Vicky I'd make her a cup of tea about 2 hours ago. And
well, it's alright, James, when you take it to her, say, "Sorry it's late, love, I was doing the washing up." She can't fault you for that. Well, while you're making that, you can listen into this comment there, James. Alright, kids, kids can be so innocent at times. I know I told Steve about this the other day. When I was with my mum and dad's last week, our other brother Martin was there with his little boy Arthur. And Martin was working in the garden, Arthur was playing, and I was sat in the kitchen. And Arthur came in, he's only, 4 years old, something like that, I think?
Yeah.
So Arthur came in carrying a little plastic toolbox, and my mum came in with him. And she says, well, maybe Uncle David can help you build something. And at that point I'm thinking, oh, fucking hell. So I'm not too bad with kids, but at the same time, it's like tea parties and stuff like it drives me nuts. So my mum turns around to Arthur and says, ask Uncle David and tell him what you'd like to build. So Arthur turns around and goes, Uncle David, will you help me build something? I was like, well, it depends what you want to make. He goes, I want to make a fridge. And I'm thinking, fucking what? A fridge? Like, are you having a laugh? At this point, my mum's burst out laughing. She's stumbled outside. She's laughing so much. And I'm thinking, hang on, how the fuck can I make a fridge? And then I thought, this is how my brain went. It went, well, fridges are cold. How could I make something cold? Ice. I know. If we could get something like a plastic bottle and put ice in it, we could make that cold, and we could put something in it and that get cold. So I say to Arthur, I don't know if we'll be able to make a fridge, but maybe we could make something smaller that could be like a fridge. So we'd need to make it cold. He said, well, how do we do that? I says, well, what's cold, really cold, that we could get that could make other stuff cold? And eventually he got to ice, and I was like, yeah, so all we need to do is get some ice. And at that point he said, let's make a freezer. I was like, oh, fucking hell, I got no chance. I got no hope. There we go, the innocence of children. We didn't make a fridge or a freezer, but I did show him how to fill a bag full of water.
If I'd have been that kid, I'd have been like, Uncle Dave,
why are you such a boring dog?
A Star Wars movie. Play. Darth Vader.
Oh dear. It'd that be easy? Just get a black bin and put it on your head. Okay, James, are you ready to play a game yet? Have you made your cup of tea for the missus?
No, the kettle's boiled. I've yet to get the cups out. The cups are coming out of the cupboard. They're going down. How a man makes a cup of tea. Right, tea bags. In they go. I hope this is entertaining for you all. Audio of a man.
Hang on a minute. If you did a video of how a man makes a cup of tea, it'd start off with the missus coming in going, James, can you make me a cup of tea? Yeah, no worries, love, I'll do it in a minute for you. The video would then be 2 hours of fuck all, right? And then going, oh shit, I didn't make her a cup of tea, right, I'll do it.
I literally just walked out and went, right, I'm just going upstairs, and just shout me when you want to go to bed so we can swap round. Where's my cup of tea? Where's my cup of tea? Oh, shit.
I don't know.
Right, I just need spoon, milk, and we're set to go.
Does she have sugar?
No, she don't. I do. Hang on, this might put me in good books. Hang on.
Oh, he's going to go for some cake or biscuits.
Vicky, you want chocolate muffin?
Well, go to the bloody shop and buy one.
What? What?
Well, I know this will put me in the good books. I bet it don't.
Oh, right, yeah. Malted milk. Well, that's it.
Oh,
I thought you were going to end up making cheese on toast for a minute.
Oh dear. The joys, eh? The joys.
Right, just say one of our viewers has messaged me saying, hurry up, he wants to play this game with us.
Right, that's one tea bag. Oh, God, this is quality podcasting. Right,
Oh, something I want to mention actually. It'll pass the time for a moment. You know, over the last few podcasts, I've mentioned a little bit about people's comments on like YouTube videos and posts or videos on Facebook, I did see something the other day which kind of caught my attention, and mainly because it involved Dave the Harp, we know Dave the Harp. He's listened into the podcast a few times, and Dave the Harp happened to comment on a Facebook post. Now, I'll be honest, I can't remember what the Facebook post was or what it was he was commenting on, but it was the comment of the person that sort of responded after Dave that I thought, you know what, I need to share this with Steve and James. So whatever this post was, I can't remember, but this is what Dave the Harp said. Dave the Harp put, "No, they won't. They be 20, same as him." I've no idea what it was about. But the next person's comment goes as follows. Think of it like this. Have you ever smoked a cigarette in your car and tried to throw it out the window? And a minute later, you start to smell something, and you turn around to find your grandma fingering herself in the back seat.
Oh,
What have I just walked in on? Oh, with the granny fingers.
Okay, so for the benefit of James, you heard me mention about Dave the Harp, and he commented on something on Facebook. The person's comment after his was, apologies. Oh, what's Vicky listening? What's Vicky watching?
She's watching some on Netflix. It's usually depressing.
You were in the good books, James, with the malted milks. Now you're not.
You just told me I'm the best boyfriend ever.
Bullshit.
So I must have done something right.
It's because you've done the wash. It's because you've done the washing up. You see.
He's easily pleased. Let's just say that.
Right. Okay. So.
Right.
The
well,
comment,
we already know that.
yeah.
We've seen your penis.
Okay, so
What about Steve? Your wife will getting jealous. What are you about?
Oh. Okay, so the comment that came after Dave the Harp's comment was this. Think of it like this. Have you ever smoked a cigarette in your car and tried to throw it out the window, and a minute later you start to smell something, and you turn around to find your grandma fingering herself in the back seat?
Knowing Dave the Harp, he probably has chucked his fag out the window and smelt something dodgy on the back seat after a bit.
Oh yeah, I've done that before. When I used to smoke, it's not because you're like, what the fuck is that?
And you have to stop and try and find it.
Yeah.
And I remember doing it once and I couldn't find it, and it really did me head in because I knew for sure it came back in the car and I could not find it. So I pulled over, I stopped, and I looked everywhere on the back seat for it. Could not find it. So I ended up getting back in the driving seat, finished my journey. I think I was coming home at the time. Went to the boot to open the boot up, and it had wedged itself where the parcel shelf meets the boot lid. Yeah. So it was right out of view, but it was right in the back of that. And it had burnt a little hole in my parcel shelf.
You know what? Years ago, when I used to help deliver furniture, used to do it in tranny vans. I made the mistake of like smoking in the van, flicked it out the window, and as I flicked it out the window, part of my mind went, "That came back in, you dickhead." Another part of my mind went, "No, it didn't. Don't worry about it." We go on this journey, like I think it might have been down to Cornwall, so it's fucking hours and hours. We get down there, we pull out this sofa, although it wasn't actually so, it was a chaise longue, right? So like sofa on one half and nothing on the other, fucking expensive as fuck. And as we pull it out, the whole thing's like wrapped in really thick, covered in dust polythene, like a really thick plastic cover. Pull it out, and there's a fucking big hole with a fag nub like tilted on the edge where all the plastic has dripped down onto this fucking really expensive sofa, and I'm like, oh shit. So we have to get it out, partially unwrap it, see if the sofa, how bad the sofa is, try and pick off all this plastic and then try and get it inside. Would not have gone down well if we'd not got away with that, but yeah, not a good moment for me. I mean, that's almost as bad as knocking over someone's expensive vase when delivering the furniture as well. But there we go.
Before we start this picture game, it's just reminded me, you know, I've had this like really weird sore throat.
Yeah.
It comes and goes. Like it went last week, middle of, I think it were like Saturday, it started again on back of my throat. I'm like, oh for fuck. It just doing me head in. And then it went, and then this morning I woke up and it felt like fucking razor blades. I were about to message you and go, I don't know how well I'm going to be, you know, with this throat. It's doing me head in. But I just thought to myself, you know what? Drink plenty today and we'll just see what happens. This afternoon I've been completely fine. Like, it's a little bit, but hardly out. But throughout them 3 weeks of it constantly doing me head in, I was driving to work one morning and I got a bit of phlegm in my mouth and I was like, oh God, I'm going to... But I was late for work, so I thought I can't really slow down. So I'm on this country road, so I put window down, right? And I'm in the middle of nowhere, nobody can see me, so I go to like spit out at window like a right, you know.
Comes back in at high speed, doesn't it?
Well, this was it. It just bounced onto door frame on car. And it was just dripping down. Oh, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, I bet I look like a right dickhead. But anyway, I just put window up and I thought I'll sort this out when I get there. Gets to work, completely forgets about it by that point. It wasn't until I got out of work and I opened the car door and I'm like, oh my fucking God. It was like treacle.
Oh.
Fucking awful. Like, oh my God. Good job I want, you know, impress, you know, like if it had been like single or out, and like you'd been like, hey, come and check out my ride. That was fucking god
covered in spit.
Dripped.
Oh. I've made the
that
mistake.
Is gauze. That is not jizz.
I've made the mistake of doing that when the window wasn't down. Once. That's fucking, you know, like when you have a coughing fit and you just turn, you turn and go, and you're like, oh twat. Because it's on the inside of the window, it's just dripping. There's a fucking hell. But, I don't know.
All right, let's get on to this picture game.
Picture game. What was it called? Yeah. What was it called again, Steve?
I can't remember now. I think it was something like Whose Hass.
Whose Hass is this?
Whose Hass?
Okay, so James, we're going to send you a picture of a rear end. It's going to be down to you to tell us what rear end it is. So, for any of the listeners,
Jennifer Lopez.
They're all to do with Formula 1.
Ooh, so it could be Mintu's ass.
So, for anyone listening, you feel free to have a go at this game as well. So I'll put the first one up on the podcast, and I shall send it to Steve and James. Now Steve has basically got all these pictures. Some of them I do know, most of them I don't. So Steve, you'll have to tell James if he's got the right answer or not. So here is the first one, James.
Yep.
Now just to make it a little more simple for you, James, I just want the make of the car, not it's 2002 or it's an MP4/4.139 or whatever. Just the make of the car.
Has it stumped him straight off the bat? It has, hasn't it?
I think it might have done.
Someone's telling me, is this, because it just looks so it looks so basic, is this the Pirelli car when they were showing off the tyres?
Oh, fuck off. Yeah,
it is.
You wanker.
You know what, when I first saw this picture I looked at it and thought that, at first I thought Mercedes, and I was like no. And I was like, something don't quite look right with this car.
What don't look right?
Pirelli, but
the one thing that don't look right is all the cars have around the rear brake ducts tons and tons of wings, and this is so basic with the, you know, with the track rods going in towards the wheels. And I just thought to myself, I can't see any sponsorship. I'm gonna go with Pirelli.
Well done.
I thought I'd get you there straight away.
I did. Okay, on to the next one. If you want to ask me for some hints on this one, James, you can, because I ain't got a fucking clue what it is.
Ooh. It's a Lotus.
That's all I was after.
I want more.
Yeah.
I want more.
But if you want to say more, feel free.
Yeah. It's is it a Lotus 72D?
I believe it to be. Yeah. That's what I.
Oh yeah. Come on.
It's all right, Dave. Don't worry. We've given him the easy ones first to make him feel assured.
True.
Bullshit.
Okay, on to the next one.
It's a lovely car, that. I wish F1 cars were a bit more like that, where the rear end you just see the engine. Or wetty ass, I would say. I'd say it's Lewis Hamilton.
Yep, you are correct. But what I want to know though is, James, is on the next picture that reveals who it is. I want to know, has he pissed himself?
Let's have a look. I'd probably say so, yeah.
There's definitely some coloration there, isn't there?
Yeah, he's not jumping up and down like he normally would, and that's probably just. Is he wearing like red underwear or something? I don't know.
Well, a few times I've seen him and thought, is he wearing a red fire suit underneath?
He might be, yeah. But you know,
Possibly.
like you mentioned earlier, you said that he might possibly be gay. You know, the only other person that I thought, you know what, I bet they might possibly. I was thinking maybe Valentino Rossi, because you never see him with a woman.
Mm.
You always see him with them three blokes that are like just his mates that always turn up in garage. You never see him with a woman.
Fair enough. I've never really watched motorbike, so I can't really comment. Okay, on to the next one.
I would go McLaren 20. I would say it's the McLaren.
I don't know, the McLaren.
It's the McLaren Kevin Magnussen drove.
Wrong.
The all silver and black one.
Wrong.
What? What? I can't be wrong.
It's a McLaren, but it's not the one that K-Mag drove.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yep, because the date's there written on the next picture.
2014.
He's going to get Googling now. Okay, on to the next one.
Who were in car then in 2014?
I don't know. On to the next one.
When were Magnussen in there? Yeah, 2014. It was Button and Magnussen. It was 2014. Button and Magnussen.
I don't know, so I'm just winding you up.
Who the fuck is that?
It's a famous F1 rear end.
Well, this is. If you expect me to get this, you're having a fucking laugh. No sponsor, no.
Well, you got the Hamilton one.
Yeah, because he had a Puma badge. Where this it's just. I'm gonna go a wild guess here. I'm gonna go Graham Hill.
Wrong.
I reckon we should give him another.
Give him another guess.
Yeah.
Give you another guess.
No. Have another go.
What era are we looking?
Wow, fucking hell! He's been in Formula 1 for donkey's years.
Yeah.
Kimi Raikkonen.
Longer than that.
Is he currently in Formula 1?
No, he's dead.
Senna?
Nope.
Nope.
He's dead.
He's sadly passed away of old age.
John Surtees?
Nope.
No.
Oh,
I don't think we should tell him either.
What about that one that won like on bikes and in cars and he were in Ferrari?
That was
Surtees.
Surtees. No.
That's it.
Yeah.
I was thinking there were another one as well. I don't know. I really don't.
I think we're just gonna have to show him.
Yeah.
I'll never get it.
You should have done.
If you'd have put doctor, I would have got it. How on earth? Or if you'd have shown a little bit of, a little bit of ambulance.
I did, but it was in black and white.
You know what? If you'd have shown me his ass and his shoes, probably could have got it from his shoes.
That was a difficult one.
So for anyone that doesn't know who he is, it's Professor Sid Watkins.
Yes. Probably the most famous non-racing driver member of Formula 1. Okay, on to the next one. I gotta say, that's a very nice looking rear end of an F1 car, that is.
It is, isn't it? I think it'll stump him though.
You know what's stumping me with that is if you look at the rest of the picture, it looks modern.
Well, it could have been brought out for a classic weekend.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's a guy wearing a Canada t-shirt, tartan shorts. Actually, it looks modern, but then if you look at the guy on the right-hand side, wearing skinny jeans, tight top, and what definitely looks like a 70s perm.
And a collar.
Unless that's a woman. If it is, I apologise.
Is it a Ferrari?
No, it is not.
You know, I have no idea.
I've got. Yeah, it's just the roll loops do me head in, and this big long thin piece straight up's do me head in.
You know, I'm thinking. Is it Lotus?
No.
No. I don't think it's a McLaren.
It is not a McLaren.
No.
What are the cars were there? Williams, Brabham.
Watch, it'll be a Tyrrell or something.
Not a Tyrrell.
I'm stumped on this one.
I ain't got a clue. So go on then, Steve.
Well, you half named it, Dave.
Brabham.
It's a March Brabham.
Oh, you know what? Now that I see the picture, I remember seeing this when I saw it in the pictures out, and when I saw the orange, I thought that's an old McLaren. That is.
But now you see it in colour. That's got to be a modern picture, especially with the guy's shorts on the right
Bermuda
side.
shorts, yeah. Bloody hell. Oh, I don't know. Right, okay, on to the next one. Jesus Christ. Just find it. There we are. I ain't got a fucking clue what that is.
That's an F1 car.
That is a rear of an F1 car.
That's taking rear wings to a whole new level, that isn't it?
You look at pictures like this and you look at pictures like this and you think, is that rear wing actually attached to the car? Is that how it drove?
Yeah, it's actually it was frowned upon because it wasn't classed as part of the rear wing. It was classed as the rear diffuser.
It also were frowned upon because it looks like a bag of shit.
The fucked
Like a
up
bloody
thing about
lawnmower attached to back wheels.
the fucked up thing about it is, right, it's all rear wing, it's all about downforce, but look at the angle of the rear wing. It's fucking flat.
I really, really don't have a clue. Really do not. Usually, stuff would stick in my memory, and that would definitely stick in my memory, and I not have a clue.
Okay. It's exactly the same car as the one you've just seen, but the rear wing is different.
Is it, you nasty bastard? You
He is
nasty
a
bastard.
Isn't he? He's a proper bastard.
Fucking hell.
And Steve, seeing as you're so up on this, when were this rear wing used? Which race?
It was actually banned.
Oh, just to make it even worse.
No wonder I've never bloody seen it.
Fucking hell. Right, on to the next one.
I believe it was never actually used in a Grand Prix. The team tested it, and other teams basically appealed it, and they had to revert back to their original wing.
What I will say is, in Steve's defence, Sid Watkins never took part in a Grand Prix either. So I suppose it is a legal entrant into this form of competition.
And we have had the Arrows front wing where it was on stilts as well, which never took part in previous games.
But in defence of James, that was fucking evil, Steve.
This one, I'm thinking, could it possibly be Senna?
It could possibly be.
That's no then. If it's not Senna, I don't know.
No,
Other than Michael Jackson.
It is Senna.
Is it?
Oh, is it? Alright.
It's Senna. Yes, it is Senna.
Okay. James is showing that he's very good at knowing what he knows, and he has no idea of what he doesn't know.
That sounds like something. Sounds like something that. What's his name? Did you say? Murray Walker.
Yeah. Okay, on to the next one. I think this one's going to be too easy. But considering the previous +1 was impossible.
It's a Mercedes.
Are you sure?
It's the Italian Grand Prix.
Is it a Mercedes, or is it just a Mercedes-powered car?
No, it's definitely a Mercedes. It's the Italian Grand Prix. I would say 2016.
Okay, you do realise I want to know what, not the car in the forefront is, it's the one in the background that I want to know.
Even I'd say fuck off on that one. Yeah, that blurry image you can't see.
Yeah, that rear wing they brought to Monza.
So, Steve, is he right or is he wrong?
I don't know if it is Monza one or not, but it is a Mercedes. Because I know that they have used that rear wing in different places.
Yeah.
You know what? Looking at the I don't think that's a Monza. It doesn't look like
Monza. Because that would be the exit of a pit lane where they stop to do the practice starts. And it's Red Bull that was next car. Could be Canada.
Yeah, could be. Okay, on to the next one. Oh, hello.
I think James might like this next one.
Yeah. Yes, James likes this one.
Graham Hill. Olivier Penis.
Give me an era. When are we talking?
Current
era. Is it Nicole Scherzinger?
Nope.
I would say she's got fuck all to do with F1.
Currently, yeah. I have no clue, but it's a nice one.
It is. Although it does look a little bit like there's a stick up her arse.
Yeah, it does look like that, doesn't it?
Just a bit sweaty, that's all.
Do we just show him the picture, or do I tell him who it
I
is?
think we just show him the picture.
Yeah, okay.
I was impressed with this one, actually.
Oh no! Not
So for those that don't know,
look at that douchebag outside of her.
for those that don't know, it's Carmen Jorda. And what does she do now, James?
Fuck all.
Got a
She's
nice
supposed to
arse,
inspire women into Formula One or something.
Inspire women
Yeah.
with their ass.
though. There shouldn't be grid girls. Yeah, look at that picture. Okay, on to
Inspire other women with all the free money for doing fuck all.
the next one.
Ooh.
Okay, what's sexier, this rear end or Carmen Jorda's?
Well, I can tell you, driver, it's what's his face? It's the burger.
Interesting estimation.
So is it a Ferrari?
I thought it was Prost for a minute.
I've no
But
idea.
anyway, but it
Definitely
is.
burger.
It is a Ferrari. I was a bit cheeky because I trimmed it down so it didn't have the Egypt sign on the rear wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed that because if the Egypt had stayed on, you'd have got it instantly.
Yeah. But the reason why I said I don't think it's burger
Yeah,
is because the helmet's
green.
got green,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
that could be an
Being
Italian
worth an
driver.
Italian special. Yeah, well, I only got it because of the helmet. That was the only reason I said Ferrari. So let me have a look.
Wouldn't be
Alboretti, or whatever his name was.
Andretti.
Not Andretti, no.
But
The wrong
that's
type
the
of
era
car.
that Berger would have been at Ferrari, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
A lazy?
Might have,
No.
could have been. But we're not looking for the driver anyway.
No. Don't think weren't a lazy and Berger teammates at Ferrari.
I think they were.
So it might have been a lazy then. Okay, on to the next one then.
You know that John Lazy is French.
All right. Okay. Okay, James. What rear end is this?
So look. Oh, it's a Red Bull driver. I'd say it's Mark Webber. Oh, is it a Red Bull driver? Oh, that's weird.
Now he's stumped.
I am stumped. I've got no clue.
Would you like a clue?
Yeah.
You're not going to get one. No. It's a photo from this season.
This season. Not Red Bull.
Nope.
And it's not Red Bull.
Is it Haas?
That's what we're looking at, Hasses, yeah.
Is it Magnussen?
We
Grosjean?
can't allow it to have it through process of elimination.
Yeah, process of
Leclerc.
elimination. Leclerc. No.
Yeah, Grosjean, I bet.
It is Grosjean. You'll kick yourself when you see the picture.
Do you know? I was going to say. Do you know when the picture might have been?
Spain, crying.
No.
There have been other occasions he was crying.
Well, is that him talking to his pit crew going, I'm really sorry,
It
I
is.
didn't mean to fuck up.
Well, actually,
Was that It was actually the other way round. It was the pit crew that were annoyed with themselves for fucking up his pit stop.
In Australia.
Yeah.
Well, he's repaid them in kind, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, on to the next one. I can tell you, this one isn't Sid Watkins.
But I want the first name and second name.
Could it be a woman? Or is it a man just being a bit gay?
I could help you out on that bit. Other than that bit, I can't help you out.
Is it a man or a woman? I think it's a woman.
You would be right in thinking it's a woman. That's all I'll say.
Not a big ass, is it?
Things you know what Steve's like for playing games. Just because you've seen it before doesn't mean he won't use it again.
Oh, who was that? Oh, it's not Karma Jordan.
No.
Natalie Pinkham.
Nope.
I don't have a clue.
Neither do I. Put him out of his
Okay.
misery.
Her surname is Stoddart, or it was at this point in time. Does that help you?
No. No.
Her first name is Susie, married to Toto Wolff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, was the name Stoddart, was it?
Yeah,
Oh.
so that's Susie Wolff.
Yeah. She's married wisely, hasn't she?
She has. But to be fair, so is Toto. I think she's lovely. But there we go. Okay, on to the next one.
Was that Toto?
Nope.
I don't know if that's a front or a back. I can't tell.
We are doing rears.
There's a good point, actually.
Bernie. Is it Bernie?
No. There's too much of a leg there for it to be Bernie.
I'm just thinking it looks quite high waisted. I really don't have a clue.
It's
These ones where it's showing people's asses is a bit of a joke.
It's from
Unless
this
it's
year.
a woman's, and then I do not have a clue.
You'll have to show him the picture then, Dave.
That we will. It was close with Bernie Eccleston.
Yeah. Fuck's sake, Charlie.
Charlie bit my finger.
At this point, he's turning up going, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do know this isn't legal, don't you? I don't know what you mean. It looks fine to me.
Yeah, so it's Charlie Whiting.
Okay, on to the next one.
Hey, you are a bastard. Can you give me some good ones, please?
Oh yeah, I'll give you some good ones. Don't wait. Don't worry, there are some good ones.
Hey yo. On a Renault helmet. I can't even tell whose helmet that is.
It's a tough one.
It's a bloody tough one. Is that like, I don't know, something about the shape of the helmet telling me it's Alonso, but he ain't got red. Oh, could it be?
I'm sure Alonso doesn't wear high heels either.
No, I'm just thinking about the driver's helmet, and then I might be able to work it out. It's a good picture, I appreciate, but I've got no clue again.
I'll give you a clue.
Oh.
It's a female.
What? Sorry, what was the
Oh.
Oh, it's not Susie Wolf.
It wouldn't be Susie Wolf again, would it?
Yeah, that'd explain it, yeah.
Let's have a look. That
Yeah.
is a nice picture.
I might save that.
That goes in the wank bank. Okay, on to the next
What
one.
are them two knobheads doing there, though?
Yeah.
I'd just
No
be
idea.
like, you love, you right.
To be fair though, if
Do you want a chair? I've got one over. We've got a chair over here. Look, be more comfy on that.
To be fair though, you'd be stood there thinking, well, she hangs around with F1 people. Our car's nothing like an F1 car. So yeah, I ain't got a chance. But yeah, I think Susie's lovely. Okay, on to the next one.
I'm gonna say.
There's a big clue on this one.
I think his first
Oh,
guess
yeah.
is going to be wrong.
Part of me's wanting to say Weber.
That'd be the wrong
Is that-
part of you.
That'll be the wrong part of you.
Ricardo.
That'd also be the wrong part of you.
Sebastian.
Nope.
Verstappen.
Nope.
Kvyat.
No.
Not
Why don't you just start with the start of when Red Bull and say David Coulthard?
Yeah, go for a
Oh, I could have said David Coulthard and what were it, Christian Clean.
No.
You could have said that. We've had plenty of wrong guesses, so we'll reveal the answer.
Bollocks. Who? Oh, for... What? I wanted to say Toro Rosso. Fuck's sake. This is what I mean. It's a joke. I mean,
Well, this is like what I want.
person coming along, I've just gone. Just to make myself feel better, I've gone back up to that picture of Susie Wolf.
Yeah. Okay, on to the next one.
Oh yeah, it's that car we're on about. The was that the Brabham?
That's a Brabham. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I'd give you an easy one.
Yeah, I got that one.
I definitely think they should bring this theory back into Formula One. They really
Yeah, just
should explore that.
Get blown at you when you try to overtake. I need to overtake because I can't see.
Okay, on to the next one. The next and last one.
Okay.
I would say we've saved the best till last.
Oh, don't tell me it's fucking Jerry Halliwell.
No.
No, it's not Jerry Halliwell. It's not Claire Williams, is it?
No.
It's not Natalie Pinkham. Somebody having a bath?
No, I was having a drink.
Oh, right. No, I don't have a clue.
So it's not Natalie Pinkham. It's not Jerry Halliwell. It's not anyone else. So you're ruling out all of them, yeah?
Yeah.
You'd be wrong
Okay.
to do so. But
He's already ruled them out.
okay, let's reveal it. I'll reveal who it is then.
Fucking hell. How long did you take that? Jesus, that was hours.
I'll tell you what, as soon as you've now got this version, do you know who it is?
No.
Do you know what? It's
No.
actually, the eyes are the original person's eyes as well. That's not actually...
Yeah, I noticed that you cut out the fucking eye.
Okay. Shall I...
Quite scary, that.
It is, isn't it? Shall I reveal who it actually is?
Yeah, yeah. I said Natalie Pinkham.
No, you said it's not Natalie Pinkham.
Yeah.
You ruled Natalie Pinkham out.
Oh, no.
What I will say is that as much as I like that picture, I'm pretty sure her left leg by her arse cheek has been photoshopped.
Yeah.
It probably all has.
Yeah. To be fair, I think majority of it has, because... yeah, I don't know. There's just something about her where I'm a bit like,
For me,
I don't know.
5 years ago, oh yes. Now, not so much.
Yeah, I much preferred that other one that were on first year of Sky Sports. Georgie Thompson.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with you there. Well, I think James did very, very well on his picture game there. I could have saved Steve's arse for that game as well.
Yeah.
So, Steve, how did he do?
I didn't take score, but I thought he did this shit.
I thought he did very well. God, he didn't take score.
No, to be fair, the car ones, he was all right on. Apart from the one he got wrong, which was a bit of a difficult one, the March Brabham. Both of them, actually, being the same car. But the humans, yeah, it is quite difficult.
It is. Right, okay. I think next week, James, you're going to have to get revenge on him. In the form of a picture game. What I would say is probably don't make it Star Wars, because he won't know that anyway. So we'll have to think of something that you can do a picture game of and make it as difficult as possible for him. I'm sure we can come up with some kind of... excuse me, some kind of idea. Any thoughts?
Maybe we could do like...
I was going to say, what wheel nut is this from?
Yeah. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll do like a bit of Photoshop work so it clearly looks easy, and then the answer's like fucking well hard because I've just Photoshopped it.
Yeah. Yeah, what corner is this on an F1 track that I've completely made up? But yeah, okay. Right. I'm going to mention something now which could be a bit of a risk to mention, but I watched Solo last night, and I had to because I knew that Steve had watched it. I knew that James had watched it, so I figured, you know what, I'm going to have to watch it so that if it comes up, at least I can talk about it. We've hinted throughout the course of this podcast that it hasn't been very good. Now, we may have 3 different opinions here. James, I think your opinion is, if I had to explain it in 2 words, probably shit, disgusting. Or along those lines, maybe.
I'm just ashamed a Star Wars movie has been released that is so fucking bad.
Steve's view might be slightly different. Your view, Steve, in a few words?
Okay, as a standalone movie, if you try and forget the fact that it's Star Wars.
And my view is, I got to the end and thought, well, what was the point of that? I'm a bit annoyed that, I mean, because I kept saying to you, James, I said, you never know, when it comes out you watch it, you might think it's really good, and I must admit I went into it very open-minded. Steve had already watched it and said, if you think of it just as a standalone sci-fi movie, it's not bad. So that's kind of how I approached it. but by the end, I did sit there and think, that was pointless. I mean, I don't want to give too many spoilers away.
You can't not give. Well, everyone knows the story. There's nothing in it that people don't know.
There's no in it that'll spoil out.
Well, I mean, okay, I was going to say there's probably one bit. I mean, you're right in what you've said, and that's why I think it was pointless. It tells a story of stuff you already know, like how Han ends up with the Millennium Falcon, the 12 parsecs run, but okay, explains the actual details. There was only two things that could potentially be spoilers, so Star Wars spoiler alert, folks. One was what Emilia Clarke's role actually is in the Star Wars universe, and two was the hologram at the end. At first I was like, is that Darth Maul or not? Because he kind of looks older than Darth Maul, but surely this is a point where he'd be younger than Darth Maul. Or is it just because it's hot? Other than that, the rest of the story was like, well, I already know this. Other than, thinking about it, how Chewie and Han Solo met. But even then, it kind of reminded me of when Luke Skywalker was dropped in the pit with the massive beast. The only difference was he killed the beast. Or at least escaped from the beast or whatever, killed the beast. But the rest of the film I did find to be a little bit pointless.
The movie itself is completely pointless. And I was talking with Paul, my mate at work, today, and we were saying they being Lucasfilm / Disney, probably went. They more than likely put out a survey on like StarWars.com saying which is your favourite Star Wars character, and then whatever people come up with the majority. Sorry,
talking stars. See, this is how bad it is.
That's what Solo made me do. I actually just started doing some editing, so bored. But yeah, it's like one of them things where like they'll put out a survey. People have said, "Oh, Han Solo's my favourite character," and they'll have automatically gone, "Right, safe bet. Let's make a Han Solo movie." Number one, straight away, straight out of the box, the title of the movie. What the fuck? It's literally like, yeah, and you know what I mean? Solo, a Star Wars story. That's it. That's the title. Doesn't have any sort of mystery or something that makes you want to watch it. It's just Solo. So yeah, okay. Number two, the idea of the movie is, well, we'll have a young Han Solo movie. And no offence, but I seem to remember when Sean Connery were cast as James Bond, he did a run, I think it were 5 movies. He did Dr. No, From Russia With Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, and then he said, I've had enough. And then the next actor came along, which was George Lazenby, to play the same role, only 2 years later, and there was a significant drop-off in viewing attendance because people were like, oh, I can't really see him as James Bond. I see Sean Connery as James Bond. Now that's a 2-year gap, and you had not even a full 10 years of Sean Connery. I think there were only between Dr. No and between Dr. No and Sean Connery's one before Lazenby, which will have been You Only Live Twice. I think it was only about 6 or 7 years that he'd been playing the role. Harrison Ford technically has been the face of that character since 1977 to 2015. That's almost 40 years of one actor portraying that role. Yeah, the majority of the time he wasn't even in Star Wars, between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. But all marketing, all action figures, everything, books, everything you can think of has Harrison Ford's face on it. To then turn around to a load of people and go, this is set just 10 years before A New Hope, but we've got a completely different actor who looks completely different to Harrison Ford. I personally think not only did The Last Jedi put a bad taste in people's mouths, I personally think the majority of people can't accept a new actor being that character.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long that actor, Harrison Ford, has played that character. Not only just in 4 movies, but in people's heads. When you buy a book, it's more... If it's got Han Solo in it, it's got Harrison Ford's face on it.
Yeah.
So you automatically... Your brain thinks, Harrison Ford, Harrison Ford. This young kid that's come in, he did a decent job, but there's no character arc. I wanted... If I was going to buy this kid being Han Solo, I wanted everything he did to fail. Everything he tried, fail. And it just all went tits up. And he trying to be cocky, but it just kept... A bit like Max Verstappen, everything he's trying to do just keeps going a bit tits up. And it isn't until he gets a bit older that things start to actually, work out a bit,
Yeah.
Things turn around for him. But there's no... I mean, what is the character arc?
Well, interestingly,
Solo?
one of the things I said to Steve was... obviously there's a couple of things in, like when he says, I've got a good feeling about this, that's obviously not what he says when he's older. But one of the things I said was, if you think about the X-Men movies, right? Patrick Stewart is Professor X, but then when they made the earlier versions of X-Men, when Professor X was young before he was part of the X-Men, it was a completely different character. And one of the things that one of the things that they actually put out there as when they were doing their like press tours and stuff was, yes, I'm not Patrick Stewart, but that's part of that is because the Xavier that I'm playing is not the Xavier as part of the X-Men. It's him.
He hasn't had the life experience yet.
It's him before that, where he drinks, he parties, he flirts, and it is a very different person, so to speak, or he's at a very different stage of his life, and all the things that happen that make him Professor X haven't happened yet. Now, for me, I connected very easily with that character, and I didn't have the problem of seeing somebody else play Xavier instead of Patrick Stewart. But what I would say is, you're right with what you say about the character of Solo. I thought it would be easier to make that connection. Now, I think if someone was to watch it and the name Han Solo was never actually mentioned, you wouldn't necessarily make that connection, I don't think. But for me, it kind of begs the question. Steve's old enough, as I am, to remember the first Tron movie, right? Now, I barely remembered the first one. I probably watched the second one before I really watched the first one. But what I was impressed with the second one was it was the first time that really somebody had pushed the boundaries of graphical imagery of making somebody look younger, and they did that with the main... the name Jeff Bridges is coming to mind, but I can't remember if it's Jeff Bridges. So they had him as himself, the older version, but then they had him as like the Tron version, which looked much younger. And okay, you could tell that it was CGI, but it was very, very good. But that film's a few years old now, so I can't understand why someone didn't turn around to unless they did turn around to Harrison Ford and say, look, we want you to voice the part, but we'll CGI you as a younger version, and we'll get an actor to learn how you move, and we'll get somebody to do all the moving parts, and you do the voiceover for it. And that, for me, would work much better, even if you if you looked at it and go, oh, well, that's CGI. Well, you would anyway, because you know he's like fucking nearly 100 years old now.
Yeah, yeah.
But you may be able to connect with that a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. But as well, I mean, I turned to Vicky. I mean, Vicky's not a huge Star Wars fan. I turned to Vicky after Rogue One and I says, that were good computer graphics, wasn't it? And she went, what do you mean? I went, well, you know that Tarkin? He wasn't real, was he? And she went, what?
Yeah.
So she didn't realise.
Yeah.
She didn't realise he was dead. She just was like, what? And I think that's another thing that just completely baffles me. In Rogue One, they went out of their way to make it fit within. And Solo, they've gone out of the way to just go, this is our own new thing. And it's like, yeah, but it don't fit.
It doesn't work.
It does, but it don't fit because it's been, like I say, it's been too long that people have associated the characters.
Yeah.
Chewbacca is probably the only one that fits out of the lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's behind a mask. You know what I mean? So, as well, like, did I show you the Twitter battle that I had the other night?
You did, yeah.
Well, I'll just go through it, just so that the viewers know what I was.
Let me just get me popcorn out.
I tell you what, James, we'll do this specially, shall we? Because I didn't read it until I'd watched the film. So how about, right, you can say the bits that you said and I'll say the bits that everybody else says.
Alright, so if we start with the very top one where it's the Star Wars saying check out a bounty of interviews and shit.
Quizzes, recipes, crafts and more from Solo, a Star Wars story. And then Austin says, movie sucked. Justin says, why, if I may ask? I absolutely enjoyed it. Just curious to hear your opinion.
Yeah.
And then somebody else says, the cameo was what I was expecting. If it didn't happen, I would have been upset because it wouldn't have made sense. Austin says,
by that point, he's, no offense, if anybody's like listening to this, it don't really matter. The movie's shit. He's talking about Darth Maul, which was probably the only noteworthy part in the movie. The cameo he's on about is the reintroduction of Darth Maul.
Yeah. Okay, so Austin then goes on to say, this is a movie and was meant to be a standalone. I get it. He's part of the universe and is alive and blah blah, but his appearance was done in the worst way. A hologram for 5 seconds, then flicks the saber on, then off, and boom, gone. J.A. replies, if you read the comics and show you know that he leads a team and his end goal is to kill Obi-Wan, this was basically a tease to what will most likely happen in Obi-Wan movie. Sorry if this is a kind of spoiler, but a lot of people already know this.
So then I kick in with, hardcore fans know this, but movies should never have to make people go back and watch animation or comics or books. Everything should be presented in a way which is relatable. No one should have to do research to understand what's going on. This didn't really happen, but this was just so that I could get my point across. I put, my girlfriend said, hang on, didn't he die?
If you've watched the movies in order, you would think that he had.
Yep.
Yeah, you would do, yeah.
J.A. responds, I think it's very good writing when they have things that not everyone knows. Why dumb it down?
Does that sentence make sense?
Not really.
Not really. Does he understand the term dumb it down? Because I don't think he understands what that means.
They dumbed it down quite a lot, didn't they?
Yeah, pretty much. So I reply with, yeah, for hardcore nerds like us, but not for the average Joe in the street. Oh, sorry, I'm going to sneeze here.
He didn't tweet that.
Right. So, with this little few sentences, I've put in a picture of a Star Wars figure card which I've got, which is signed by Ray Park, which I got on eBay for a steal. I think I got it back in 2010 for about 25 quid.
And
it's probably worth shitloads.
Who is Ray Park?
Ray Park is the actor who plays Darth Maul.
Okay.
In episode 1 and in Rogue One. So, I put, for hardcore nerds like us, but not for the average Joe in the street. The only thing positive I have to say is that for all Solo tries to do in 2 hours, Maul steals the show in 30 seconds with the original Ray Park and voiced by the one and only Sam Witwer. Now, Sam Witwer, in the Clone Wars animated show, where it shows how Darth Maul comes back, he did the voice of Darth Maul in that animated show. And I might actually get a couple of links to them shows, get you to watch that, and I bet you have more fun watching that than you do watching Solo.
I thought you were going to say they're watching porn. No, that's not going to happen.
So yeah, I pretty much made my point that basically, because the only reason that I even noted this was because the movie was so boring. I got up, left the movie playing, started editing where I wasn't actually looking at the TV. I was aiming away from the TV. And I were editing away, and it wasn't until I heard the build-up of the music and the voice. As soon as I heard the voice, I went, shit, that's Darth Maul. Turns round, and then he takes the hood off, and I'm like, oh, fucking hell, that's good. And straight away, that was the first point in 2 hours that I'd gone, oh, that's good. Because the rest of it, I could have wrote myself. You know what I mean?
Okay, so J.A. responds with, hey, Maul didn't get too much emotion from the theatre.
So I reply with, emotion? What the fuck are you on about?
With a picture.
With a picture of Will Ferrell saying, I like you, but you're crazy.
to which J.A. responds with, Maul didn't steal any show, didn't get any emotion or reaction from the crowds.
So then I reply with, yeah, they were probably all a bit confused because everybody thought he was dead. And I've got a woman looking really confused.
I thought that was a man.
Yeah, it looks like that bloke off Red Dwarf, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does actually, Cat. So J.A. goes on to say, solid movie overall, though. I think he meant to say solid, but he got it wrong. Or he was going soloed movie overall, though.
And this was a very sarcastic comment from me because I thought, I'm never going to win with this dickhead. So I just put, yeah, go on, lad.
But it didn't end there, did it?
It didn't end there. Because then, about 2 hours later, I got a like for my comment of, yeah, go on, lad, which was quite sarcastic, from the one and only Ray Park, who plays Darth Maul. Oh, fucking brilliant. But then, to get this right, because at the beginning of the tweet, I'd put hashtag boycott Solo, the next morning, I go to select Twitter, I'd been blocked from Twitter.
Had you?
Yeah, so I'm personally thinking somebody working at... I'm wondering if that person could have, because I've sort of like pissed on his bonfire, I'm wondering if he might have like reported me to Twitter, or he might have possibly worked for, well, if he did work for fucking Disney, what, he can't even fucking spell. But I'm just wondering, it's a bit coincidental, innit, that I'm sort of like slagging off the movie but bigging up Darth Maul, and then I get blocked. It's a bit weird because I've never been blocked before. I didn't write anything that was particularly offensive, other than I thought it was quite bad. But yeah, it's just baffling. But I've got to say, I just really appreciated the fact that the actual actor who plays Darth Maul was like, yeah, nice one.
There was a lot more to the Twitter arguments as well. I'm just trying to find it. I was actually reading from the picture, and obviously it was the same one as you were reading, because we got it in connection, but there was more. I'm just
the one. There's something out. I think I originally wrote. There was another one where I put. I'm sorry.
Go on.
I'm sorry for But I'm sorry for everyone who worked in making this piece of trash Solo. Lifelong Star Wars fan, completely devastated by this boring, mediocre film. Star Wars is and should always be entertaining. I almost fell asleep. Don't go see this. And that's all I put.
But J.A. responded with, everybody loves it.
So then I reply with a shot of Leonardo DiCaprio from The Wolf of Wall Street doing like a fake laugh. And I put, I love your sarcasm, it's infectious.
To which he gets a response of, just read the comments, lol.
And I put, I am. They are shocking for a Star Wars movie.
Yep, a lot of people are happy.
I put, yeah. And this is a really sarcastic comment. I put, yeah, especially the Disney shareholders asking why Solo has made a fraction of The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and The Last Jedi in its opening weekend, and then a screenshot of Tom Cruise shouting, "Show me the money."
To which he gets a response of, still making tons of money. Disney is happy.
Okay, I just put okay.
The one that I really liked was where is it? Okay, keep going. You've got and another one. From Wizard 680.
Yeah.
Says in response to James's original message, responded with, "Long life Star Wars fan, yet had smoke as a profile picture, showing his devotion to the new trilogy."
I reply with, "Devotion, lol. Yeah," and I've got a picture of Harrison Ford with his thumb up. And then 2 seconds later, I reread the message and thought he's misspelt Snoke. So I put, as well, who is Smoke? Is he a new character? I tell you, what it is if you know what you're talking about on Twitter and you get into an argument with somebody who's clearly a bit thick, it is so much fun. Just because you can just literally destroy people, but just not that you personally want to. It's just funny to destroy people who think they're smarter than they actually are.
To be fair as well, typos can make you look like a right dickhead in those kind of arguments. So when you're writing Snoke, you know you've written Snoke, and your phone's gone, no, fuck you, we're going to make you look like a knobhead.
As well with that, I think somebody. But what is baffling is all the people going, loved this movie. I took my family and we all loved it. It's like, who even bothers to write that?
Mm.
I mean,
I've mentioned before about watching like Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares and Hotel Hells and stuff like this. And I remember watching one from a pub stroke restaurant in Scotland, and there was a couple and they were unbelievable. Like, they would have an argument for, like, the guy would be in the kitchen, he was the chef, and he'd be screaming and shouting at his wife who's out in the restaurant bit trying to deal with customers, but she's just as bad, screaming and shouting at him, right? And then she'd scream and shout. It was shocking. So Gordon Ramsay's there and he's witnessing how the place works the first day, and he can't believe it. It's an absolute disgrace. And then the next day, Ramsay tends to do a bit of research, and one of the things he did, he decided to have a look for reviews, and he found a review that said how amazing the place was and how good the food was and how nice the staff were, and the owners are really nice. And he was like, well, that doesn't sound like the place that I went to. I'll keep researching. So he did, and he found exactly the same review from somebody with a different name on a different website, and he found it 3 or 4 times. Different website, different name, exactly the same review. So he went back to the restaurant later that day and sort of asked a few harsh questions like, what do you really think of your food and stuff like that, and your customers fucking hate the place. And he's like, no they don't. He says, oh, do they like it as much as these 4 people do? And basically sort of said to the guy, I know you've written these. And that's something a lot of places will do. They will write their own reviews. I mean, okay, a family may have gone to watch the film and may have thought it was really good. But as you say, for anyone that knows a bit about Star Wars, and that's the thing, you only need to know a bit about Star Wars, there's a good chance you'll find it a boring as fuck film.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think so many people nowadays are so used to boring, mediocre films, because that's what Hollywood churns out. They just accept it and go, oh, yeah. But the thing is, I mean, especially the original trilogy, and for me personally, because I grew up, when Episode 1 came out, I was 9. So the prequel trilogy for me is still very rewatchable. The original trilogy, I must have wore the original VHS tapes out as a kid. I was rewatching it. If I were a young kid and I got Solo, and let's say, for example, we still had technology of like back in 1995 or whatever, so we still had VHS.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd watched Solo that many times.
I
I'd be
can't.
bored.
I've said before, there's a number of films that I've watched, and there have been some where I've watched it and gone, I'm going to watch that again right now.
Yeah.
And there have been a few that I've done that with, and that's when I know a film has been amazing. And
Yeah.
I don't know why I've done it, other than I've enjoyed a film so much, or a film has messed like Bruce Willis, the Ghost one. I See Dead People. Once I'd watched that, I was like, "You fucking what?" and watched it again.
You have to watch it.
Yeah.
You have to watch it again.
Yeah. Solo is one of those that the only thing I will say is the version I saw was not the greatest version. So with a better quality one, I might, but I haven't really got that interest. I mean, episode 8.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if you had the same experience, but you'd paid £10 to go watch it at cinema?
I mean, that is something I would say. I would not ever pay to go to a cinema and pay the price it costs to go and watch that. I mean,
nowhere.
After watching episode 8 at the cinema and being disappointed, I didn't even want to re-watch that, but I kind of forced myself to. When I did, I enjoyed it a lot more. This one, I can't see that happening, because a lot like you, I did find myself sort of part way through going, so what am I going to do? I'm bored. I found myself picking up my phone, looking on Facebook, and I'm thinking, hang on, no, I'm watching a film.
Yeah.
Now I know you said before it came out some time ago that obviously they had problems with the directors, because what got me was at the end when it came up like directed by Ron Howard, I was like, hang on a minute, he's very rarely made a movie that I've not liked. But then that reminded me that you had mentioned that there was problems with the directors, the way the story was going, and I don't know whether Ron Howard has sort of come in and just gone, right, let's just get together what we can, we can't do much else, we'll make the best of it of what we can, or what.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that was the film he wanted to make.
No, definitely not. And I think that's kind of like they must have shoved so much money in his face to finish that off, because apparently the two directors who made the Lego movie, Lord and Miller, they're like a directing duo. They'd cast the whole movie. They'd started filming. I think they'd even got to literally within 4 weeks away from finishing filming. And basically, the word is, I don't know how true this is, but the word is that basically, in an act of, basically, they had too many producers turn up going, what are you doing? That they eventually locked themselves in the Millennium Falcon cockpit and just wasted an entire day in there. Now, for a film crew that are all sat around waiting, they're all getting a bit fucked off. So obviously, words then got back to Kathleen Kennedy at the head of Lucasfilm, going, "We don't know what these two directors are doing," and she's automatically gone, "Sack them."
Yeah.
So she's got rid of them, but then she's got a movie which is like half baked, and then she's looked at all the footage and gone, "Oh, who can we get in here?" And Ron Howard were like probably the prime candidate for he can probably fix this, and they brought him in and bodged it up. And automatically, when you know someone that's bodged up, you know it's not going to be great. But then, as well, because he's working with other people's footage, it's not all his work. He's going to have to use footage that's been filmed by other people.
Yeah.
And if he'd been in there on the day, he might not have wanted that particular shot, but he's going to have to use it because that's what we used. So it's one of them where you just sit there and go, no offence, but when they announced this originally, I kind of cringe. And when I heard that there were problems on set, you know, with the director's eye, in my heart of hearts, I personally went, oh, I hope that means that they shut the movie down altogether and they don't release it.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I sent you a screenshot of what is meant to be one of the next ones, which is the Boba Fett. And for me, what's the point? You might as well. I mean, what's going to be after that? Jabba the Hutt? I mean,
why go? And this is what I mean. This is exactly what I mean.
Well, also, in the Solo movie, why didn't they mention the name Jabba the Hutt when they were obviously talking about him?
Yeah.
When were they talking about him?
I think they said they were going to go to Tatooine or something.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they were going to go and see this outlaw at Tatooine to go and smuggle some stuff for him.
Just a load of
that's where the Han Solo story comes in with. He ends up owing money to Jabba the Hutt, and that's why Jabba wants his money. So they kind of hinted on it, but they didn't mention the name Jabba the Hutt.
There's got to be someone there that, I mean, surely. I mean, I hope they don't. I mentioned it before about the Wolverine effect, and I'm in all honesty, it ain't gonna work for movies now. I mean, it'd be a little bit like if someone in 10 years decided to go, oh, you know what? Let's make a Hulk movie from the start. I'm sorry, but it's already been done twice. There's no need. The story's been told.
That's what gets me with Spider-Man now, though, as well.
Yeah.
So I understand that they brought Spider-Man into the Marvels or whatever it is, but I've seen the Spider-Man story so many times. It's like, yeah, he gets bitten by a spider. You know what I mean? It's just like, whatever.
I mean, the only thing I will say on that is that in the comic versions there is multiple versions of Spider-Man as well. So you have got Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, the Wonderful Spider-Man, or something like that. I mean, I only know that because of watching The Big Bang Theory, where Sheldon says to Penny wants to get her nephew or something a comic book and asks Sheldon, and Sheldon says, oh, well, why don't you get him Spider-Man? She's like, all right, cool, okay, I'll get that. And then he says, well, it depends on which Spider-Man are you going to get him. So what do you mean, which Spider-Man? He's like, well, you're going to get the Amazing Spider-Man, the Wonderful Spider-Man, or Spider-Man Returns, or Venom. Now, admittedly, I have seen a couple of clips of Venom, which is due out at the end of this year. Looks like that could be pretty good. But what I will say is, I'm still looking forward to the Meg.
The Meg was on. Yeah, I did see a couple of clips of it, and it did make me chuckle.
Yeah.
But, talking of Meg, did I send you the picture of the great white shark trying to smash through a cage?
Yes.
That, for me, that would be my worst nightmare. I would have a fucking heart attack.
There's a video. Alright, get this. There's a video on YouTube of a great white shark that breaks into a cage with somebody, and this person has to then try and get out of the cage because the great white shark is in the cage.
Yeah. I mean,
that would be horrible.
Oh, just even the footage of the shark getting its nose in through this gap. I were just even watching the footage. I was just, that could be an absolute horror movie, and that's why I don't understand why, like not a remake, but like a modern version of Jaws. But like as realistic as possible. I've just sent the picture again in the chat. that, even though that the teeth aren't getting through the gap, that would fucking shit me right up.
Yeah, it would. I mean, sharks for me is something that, no thanks. But at the same time, I'd like I say, I'm looking forward to watching. I mean, there's quite a few films coming out this year that I am looking forward to watching. I've still not managed to watch Infinity War yet. I'm looking forward to that. There's the Meg, Venom. There was the one I sent you to a clip about where the guy is basically, he's got a computer chip in his head that basically takes over his body actions. I can't remember what it was called, but there's a YouTube channel that put together a lot of trailers, so there'd be like 30 minutes of future trailers, and I found it quite interesting to watch. It was a very good way to see a few trailers and see if there's films that you may not have heard of or may not have thought of watching, but actually could be pretty fucking good. I'll have to dig it out and find the YouTube channel for you, because I found it quite interesting.
Yeah, there's a few movies that I'm kind of looking for. I think I'm looking forward to that new Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Well, but I think I would much rather spend my money going to watch that than I would Solo, and that is hard to say for me.
Yeah.
And I never thought in my lifetime there'd be a Star Wars. Vicky always used to go to me, "Oh, will you buy anything that says Star Wars on it, no, even if it was shit?" And I'm like,
Darth Vader condoms.
but what I will do is through this week, and I might actually, like do one of those like little movie quizzes. There's about 4 or 5 episodes of the Clone Wars with Darth Maul. I might get them, the links to them together for you both to watch. I bet you have more fun watching them than you do watching the whole Solo movie.
Fair enough.
Probably will.
Yeah.
What about Obi-Wan Kenobi film coming out?
Yeah, I won't mind that.
That's different though, because we've seen Obi-Wan from like Luke Skywalker
Ewan
days.
McGregor.
Well, no, I was going to say we've seen him old, like that's when he was first available to us. We've seen him young. There is a big portion of from young to old. That's the thing.
Yeah,
there is an untold
20
story
20-year
there.
gap. Yeah,
of an untold story, which could be very, very interesting, and that I could understand. But you compare that to Boba Fett, couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't. No.
Well, don't you think what would be more interesting though is what happened when Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker was separated? What happened to Princess Leia for all them years?
Well, I mean that
that could just be turned into a nice bloody princess story for girls to watch.
But I personally, I've always been fascinated by. There's a few, and I think this is where the current owners of Lucasfilm and the current people that run Lucasfilm really don't get it. For me, as a Star Wars fan, there's the original trilogy, there's the prequel trilogy, and within that, there's about 5 or 6 little things that are hinted at but never explained, which I would love to see. For example, the first one, which was shown in a movie, which was Rogue One, where at the beginning of episode 4, the opening crawl is Rebel spies have stolen the plans to the Death Star. In this first battle, the Rebels have won. And you're like, oh, I wonder what that's all about. You get a movie about that then to explain what that were about. In episode 1, I don't know if you remember, Liam Neeson, Qui-Gon Jinn, sort of says to Anakin Skywalker's mother, Shmi Skywalker, he says, he seems to be really, really strong in the Force. So who was his father? And she goes, there was no father. So automatically there, I'm like, there's a story there. But they never explain it. They never explain that. And straight away, I'm like, there's a story there where there's a woman who's basically like Mary in the story of bloody the Bible and all that lot. She's just like one day, like, oh God, I'm pregnant. How am I pregnant? I had it away. I don't remember having it away.
No,
you know what I mean?
You know what? It's because Darth Maul is Anakin Skywalker's dad, and Shmi Skywalker is actually Emilia Clarke's character.
Yeah. So right. So there's that story there. Then in episode 2, there is Obi-Wan Kenobi goes to investigate where this particular. Basically, there's somebody that's died through a poison dart. He tracks down where the poison darts come from. Somebody says, "Oh, I think it's from Camino." Now, this planet has been removed from the archives, and they're trying to put it all together, going, "Why has the planet been removed from the archives? What is it they're hiding?" He eventually goes there and he meets the cloners, and they're like, "Oh, your army's ready." He's like, "What the fuck?" So he's like, "Yeah, Master Cypher Diaz, the Jedi Master from 10 years ago, he ordered this to be created for you." And he's like, "What?" So it's like, there's a story there that is like, well, who the fuck is Jedi Master Cypher Diaz? Yeah. And what on earth was this all about? And how was this all created? So there's another story there that's sort of like under the... It's not the plot, but it's under... It's a side underneath plot.
An untold story.
Yeah. And not only that, there's... I mean, okay, right. We'll end on this one, because it could take a while. The Darth Vader story. We know about Anakin Skywalker. We know about Darth Vader at the end. But when you look at the movies, right, Darth Vader is the Dark Lord, is powerful. But in the movies, what has he actually done? He's killed a couple of people by twisting his fingers. And okay, in the episodes like 1, 2, 3, as Anakin Skywalker, he's killed a few people in rampages there. But as Darth Vader in the movies, what has he done? Nothing.
Apart from, well, up until I think that's why Rogue One were that scene were pretty shit up, because you're like, oh God, it's the first time we've seen him actually
doing something.
Doing.
Yeah. So if they, I mean, I know you've read the comics and you've seen other things, but if they did a dark Star Wars, the story like of Darth Vader.
The dark side.
Yeah, the dark side. I mean, if they did that, the dark side, a Star Wars story, that'd be more interesting.
Yeah, definitely. But as well, like, you could easily do. Yeah. What's it under? You could easily. I'm swapping rooms.
You see, what actually be more interesting is Han Solo, the single masturbator. Yeah. That would be a more interesting movie than what I watched.
But I could tell you now, there's probably a million stories you can do with Darth Vader, because a bit like what we said with Obi-Wan Kenobi, here's where Darth Vader's been Darth Vader, and you don't know what he's been doing for 20 years.
Yeah.
And he's behind the mask, so it ain't like you have to worry about people identifying with the character.
Yeah.
You could show him probably getting beaten down, going on missions, being a bit reckless, like Max Verstappen, and eventually by basically learning his limitations and what he can actually still do, he becomes shit hot and, becomes the ultimate scary bastard that he is.
Well, it's a little bit like, okay, a bit of a cheesy film, but the film Doom, right? I like it. It's a bit corny, it's a bit cheesy, but the film's okay. And then you get to the bit at the end where he wakes up after being injected, and he's basically, now he is the character from the video games. And I must admit, the first time I watched that, I was like, yes. And there was a bit of the hair stick up on the back of your neck, because you know that now he's a badass. He's gonna fucking go.
I've not seen it.
Oh, I mean, the film, it's actually a pretty good film. I mean, it is a bit corny. It's kind of like, right, let's stick together. You two, go and check over there. You two, go and check over there. And shit's gonna go down. But the film's actually not. it's not too bad. And if you remember the game, the original Doom games, it's pretty good, especially when there's certain parts at the end where it's like, yeah, done that. But it had that buzz of now is powerful. And that's what a Darth Vader... I mean, you could have Darth Vader... remember RoboCop? RoboCop, powerful machine cop, gets torn to pieces. But what happens? He gets fixed, he comes back better, stronger, kicks ass. And you could have a Darth Vader sort of side, that type of thing. Because he could get broken down, he could get torn apart, you could see him suffer, but then learning to use the dark side and the pain and the anger to his benefit.
But that's it, yeah. Like, you could do exactly that. You could do it where you literally, even though you know the character of Darth Vader is going to keep on existing, you could do it to a point where you feel sorry for a character that is the ultimate bastard of the galaxy.
Yeah.
So, to a point where he's literally getting ripped apart, but because you're not seeing literal limbs getting ripped apart, mechanical limbs getting smashed and stuff, you still feel a bit sorry for him. You're like, oh, fucking hell, this is gut-wrenching. And he's like screaming and all sorts. And then he eventually, like, rather than giving in, something to do with like how powerful he is in the Force, uses the Force to like get, you know, like a bit like you know, the original Iron Man.
Yeah,
he goes into that cave and he's gonna die, but then he has to make that magnet, and then he eventually makes a suit and comes out and
it's very
smashes
primitive,
shit up.
But
yeah, it's very primitive. But that's it. He could sort of do something like that where he's been captured and they're pretty much gonna say, right, let's do you in, and he ends up. Well, that's it. The character of Anakin Skywalker, I think, as well. In Episode 1, he makes C-3PO when he's 9 years old.
Yeah.
And he makes a pod racer when he's 9 years old. I don't think he'd have any problem creating mechanical parts for himself.
Yeah.
He literally, Darth Vader could be like Tony Stark, but evil.
Yeah.
But
Steve,
there's so many stories you could do. And why do they focus on fucking
Solo?
Oh.
So, Steve, you were going to say something a second ago.
Well, I'm pretty sure, right, and James will be able to confirm this one way or the other. Darth Vader is constantly in pain.
Yeah.
Excruciating pain.
Yeah.
But I only know that from talking to you. So they could introduce, you know, that if it's a Darth Vader movie, they could try and show how much pain he's constantly in. You know,
I mean, that's,
one way or another.
Yeah. Being able to explain why he had that pod he'd sit in where his helmet comes off, there's so much there. I mean, maybe that's where Disney have come in, where, well, we want to make a family movie. No, I mean, okay, the original Star Wars was a family movie, but you can still make a dark family movie. There's nothing wrong with showing kids that there's tragedy and there's pain and there's death, and stuff like that.
And, you know, that he makes wrong decisions that, they might turn out alright, but you wouldn't want to go through the shit he goes through, so don't make the same decisions he does.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, life ain't all fucking roses and fucking candy sweets. Life can be fucking shit and can be tough and can be horrible. But if we're showing kids all like, oh, princes and princesses and like Teletubbies and there's innocence to being a child, but there's a certain point where, in all honesty, they have to know about reality of life, and that is, it's fucking shit at times.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I do kind of I do wish that, rather than focusing on the obvious, that they'd focus on the bit more obscure stories. And you can pepper in characters we know, but as long as they fit within what's already been told.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
And
I mean,
think
that's the thing as well, right? Okay, you do a Darth Vader movie, right? You can bring in a Boba Fett to that. You can bring in other characters to that. I mean, basically anybody who has been in Star Wars could, in any way, effectively have some interaction with Darth Vader. Not necessarily directly, but in a Darth Vader movie, there could be, or because this is the other thing as well. When Darth Vader appears in the Star Wars movies, as much as people are sort of shocked, it's like, oh shit, it's Darth Vader. Nobody goes, who's he then?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
They all know who he is. So how do they know who he is?
Yeah, but I think I said this. I might have said this the other week. At the end of Rogue One, Darth Vader really does like steal the limelight of that final scene.
Yeah,
because it's Darth Vader. You know, all the other characters that have been created for that movie. As soon as you see Darth Vader, yeah, you've got 6 other movies of information that you're pouring into that character. But as soon as you see him, you're transfixed by him. You're like, oh, that's Vader. Shit. Whereas the other characters, obviously, because they're a lot newer, you're getting used to it. But you could, I think it shows how weak the writers are of these new movies in making us care about these characters.
Yeah.
I thought by now, in the sequel trilogy, a character like Rey I'd actually feel for.
I feel for her every time I see her. I have a good feel.
But do you understand anything other than she's a bit of a loner?
She's a loner and got the Force, and that's about all I know.
That's it. That's all you've got after 2 movies. It's just mental that you don't know anything else other than she's a bit of a loner, and she you know what I mean? It's just like, oh.
Yeah.
Whereas by Empire Strikes Back, how much did you know about Darth Vader? In 2 movies, you were already like, fucking hell.
Well, you know who he is, effectively. You know who he was.
Yeah. But
anyway, I think we've nearly done about 2 hours of Star Wars there. Can you tell we've been restricting James? The thing, I knew it was a risk bringing up Solo, but I knew if I didn't watch it when you two had, I'd have nothing to contribute. And I know Steve's been a little bit quiet at the moment. I'm just wondering how your arm is, Steve.
It's aching.
Yeah.
But I've got it on. I've got it on sauna cushion at the minute. So
you've been looking at that. You've been looking at that Toto. You've been looking at Susie Wolf. That's why.
That reminds me, actually. I do need to tell you a little bit about a story that I did see. Just sort of going back to F1 for a moment. I just need to see if I did send it to myself. No, I don't think I did. I could have sworn I'd taken a picture of it. Let me just have another look. Let's see.
Didn't send it to me, did you?
No. Okay, I didn't take a picture of it. Okay, basically it was. Oh, hang on, no, did I screenshot it on my computer? I might have done. Bear with me one sec. Yes, I did. Okay. Right. It was a tweet that was put out during the Monaco race, and it was when Leclerc had his crash. Right. So Mercedes send this tweet out. It goes, "Contact, turn 10. There's big hit as one of the Saubers climbs all over a Toto Rosso. No safety car though." Mercedes then also tweet 1 minute after that saying, "Best typo ever." To which Honda replies saying, "Sets reminder to check Reddit later for photoshops." So yeah, rumours that Toto Wolff could be buying Toro Rosso direct from Mercedes by calling it a Toto Rosso. I thought it was pretty good.
Oh dear.
See, typos, wonderful, eh? Okay.
Actually, I wonder if they would call it a Wolf Rosso. So then instead of it being a Red Bull, it's a Red Wolf.
Could be, could be. Okay. we could rant, or James could rant about Star Wars all night, but I haven't got all night. I need to get myself some dinner at some point. Just wonder if there's anything else that you guys want to mention. I mean, okay, to sum it up, I don't think any of us would necessarily recommend watching Solo, other than Steve's best recommendation is if you can go in it or go at it thinking, just think of it as a standalone movie on its own, it might not be too bad. But if you know anything about Star Wars, I don't think you're going to like it. I wouldn't waste your money at the minute.
No. Yeah, don't go anywhere near it.
Yeah. Well, I think two highlights of tonight's show for me has been the first 35 minutes of James being stuck on the toilet with no loo roll.
What are you doing in there?
And then James suggesting that Vicky thinks he's the best boyfriend in the world because he's done the washing up. You good man. The thing is though, like I said, you go in there and say, I'm sorry about your cup of tea, I've been doing the washing up. Not a problem, you've done the washing up, good lad.
She's here now and she's listening to it thinking, nah, you're not that good.
No comment.
Good job she didn't come in a few minutes ago, eh, James?
Yeah. Oh, man. I think, you know what, as well, I know we've just ended the Star Wars chat, but there's one other thing that's been bugging me.
Go on then.
And whenever you watch the making of documentaries of the Star Wars movies, there's usually an art department before anything gets made. And they're putting up, and I remember watching, especially the one for episode 1, or it might have been episode 2, where he walks in, he's going, I need a starfighter for the Jedi. I think it needs to be like reminiscent of the Star Destroyer, so you can sort of like see what the direction of design is going. He's like, and I think Doug Chang, which is he's a fantastic artist, he still works for Lucasfilm now. He's done about 80 different spaceships, all different designs, and put them up on the wall. George Lucas walks in, and automatically, one that draws his eye, he just goes, and goes, make that one, and then walks off.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of them things where he can literally dismiss that hundreds of different designs, but the one that stands out to him, that's the one we're going with. And that's it. You've got somebody who has a clear... He wants the one thing that jumps out at him, and he'll, put his stamp of approval on it for, let's make a mock-up model so I can hold it in my hand, look at it, and then we'll do little tiny changes from that point.
Yeah.
I personally don't know who on earth is that person for any of the new Star Wars movies, other than the directors that come on. But don't you feel, and I don't know if it's just me, in all the other Star Wars movies, the designs, I mean, look at the difference between the designs of the original trilogy jumping back to episode 1 with the sleek ships with the chrome and very different looking spaceships because we're on a completely different planet. Them designs still, from like episode 1, like the pod races and everything, they stand out and they stick in my mind.
Well, actually thinking about that, right, I think you're right, because in the Solo movie, I know I'll try to get, I said we could keep talking, or at least James could, and I was right. But there was what you have reminded me. There was one thing, right, from the Solo movie that made me think, go, why has somebody sat there and thought that's a good idea? And it was at the start of the movie, the vehicle that Solo and his bird try and escape in. Right?
It's just like a car, isn't it?
But well, it is. But the car it looked like it was modelled on was the Dodge Superbird. Right, now you might not know what that is, James. I do. Steve should. Basically, Dodge Charger, massive rear wing, although the front was different. But in my mind, I saw Dodge Superbird, right? And I didn't think, oh cool, Dodge Superbird. I thought, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You want to see
Exactly.
something different that you've not seen before.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that. I personally think if you look at episode 7, you've still got TIE fighters, the Millennium Falcon, X-Wings, and that's pretty much it. So them designs, no offence, they're pretty much redundant. You've already seen them in 3 other movies. Then you go to Rogue One. TIE fighters, X-Wings, pretty much the same. The only other different thing was that U-Wing or whatever ship they were in. But pretty much 90% of the designs were from older movies. You then jump forward to episode 8. You've got 4-legged walkers that looks kind of like beefed up versions of AT-AT walkers.
Yeah.
You've got X-Wings, you know what I mean? It's just the same designs over and over and over. You go for this one, obviously you got the Millennium Falcon, they slightly changed it up with the different nose design, but that were pretty much it. And then all the other designs, is it just me? I mean, all the designs...
It's just you, James. It's just you. No, why do you?
I really do wish, though, it's times like this, though, I really do wish that somebody at Disney would go, look, let's just get George Lucas in just to finalise designs for vehicles. Just like a consultant.
I don't think he'd do it though. Yeah, he's the kind of person that he's kind of like Ross Brawn. He's like, look, if you want me to do it, I'm doing it my way. I'm going to be the boss. I'm telling you how it's fucking done. And because he won't be allowed to do that. But no. Anyway, you know what? I don't mean any disrespect here, but sometimes, James, you're a bit like a child that's not your own. It's like, yeah, kids are great, but you can always give them back. So when we finish this podcast tonight, I know I'll be able to go and do my dinner and chill out. And I'm thinking about your wonderful girlfriend Vicky, who's probably sat there now. Thinking he's fucking going on about Star Wars again, and when he's finished, he's still probably going to go on. And tomorrow he'll talk about Star Wars. I bet she does. Does she ever buy you any present that's related to Star Wars?
Not anymore. Not anymore. It's usually, why does everything have to relate to Star Wars?
You know what? I dare you one day, right, to buy yourself a Star Wars bed set, right? and when she's at work one day, put it on the bed. So you have to take.
If there's a Darth Vader one, that'd be brilliant.
A solo one.
Yeah, I can get that. It'll be cheap, I bet. It'll be a bag.
You can get it from Poundland.
But you'd have to video her reaction, like secretly video her reaction as she comes in and goes, "What the fuck?" we'll have to get Steve to do the same for his wife.
I bet there's a Jar Jar Binks one. I'll have to get that.
But, you see, maybe we could get Steve to get a Max Verstappen bed set, and when Steve's wife goes, "What the fuck is that?" he goes, "Well, just like him, I'm going to smash your back doors in."
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh dear. I think maybe we should end on that one. But oh dear. Right. Okay. I don't know about you guys. I think I'm done there.
Yep.
Okay, well, it's been an interesting one. It was a good chat about the Monaco Grand Prix. A couple of hours of Star Wars.
You know what usually happens though is like as soon as we end, and I'll go to bed, and I'll be laid in bed, and I'll be like, "Oh fuck, I went to talk about that." But yeah I'll try not.
I've done that a few times. Anyway, okay, thank you very much for listening in, folks. Make sure you come and join us next Tuesday. I think I've not checked what the date is for the Canadian Grand Prix. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks. So.
Oh, fuck! Sorry, Bella's just stood on my balls.
I guess we're finishing on that note. Well done, Bella. You know what? That's Vicky Like Vicky's been teaching Bella when he talks about Star Wars for 2 hours, you can go and stand on his balls.
Canadian Grand Prix, by the way, is on Sunday the 10th of June.
Yeah, so a week this Sunday. So it'll be a bit of a Canada preview then next Tuesday. So make sure you come and join us for that. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out the link in the description for James's Racing League and check out the interesting commentary on that. Okay, thank you, Steve. Thank you, James. Thank you, me. And that's about us done. Have a good night.
Night, everybody.
May the 4th be with you.
Blah 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 blah.